Great American Landowner. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 221, The Turtle. After making a few jokes with Huangduling, Zhou started looking at tortoises here again. Oh, no, it should be the tortoise, which is as huge as an elephant. It is a species of tortoise whose scientific name is the elephant tortoise. Zhou looked at the labels outside: the Aldabra tortoise, the Gallipa tortoise subspecies, the Angora tortoise, and the introduction of these subspecies of tortoises. Zhou looked carefully at the several big tortoises inside, which was indeed very shocking. The largest subspecies of the Gallipa tortoise alone, in terms of height, has grown to Zhou's thigh. The length is more than 1 meter. When Zhou stared at it, this giant tortoise was also looking at Zhou. When its black eyes looked at Zhou felt that its eyes seemed to light up, and it gave him the feeling that Wan Ke at home saw a bone and ran towards him with a wagtail and begging for mercy. The same is true for this tortoise, but it walks slower. Zhou waited there for a while before it slowly came to him. It stuck its head out through the iron railings, and Zhou reached out his hand and secretly put a little water of vitality in the space in his palm. The tortoise's eyes rolled, and the tip of its nose sucked a few times, and began to lick Zhou's palm impatiently. After licking for a while, it found that there was no water coming out of it, and began to nudge Zhou's hand with its head like a spoiled child, and its eyes seemed to look at Zhou pitifully. Zhou felt a little soft-hearted when he saw that, so he secretly let water come out of his palm for it to drink. After drinking a lot, this thing felt full, or it could be said that the place where it stored water was full. So even if it wanted to drink, it couldn't drink it. According to Zhou's idea, this tortoise must have drunk a lot of water before, otherwise this big tortoise could only drink so little. That was really a bit too unworthy of its size. Then the giant tortoise took 2 steps back, stretched its head back, and called a few times in the direction behind it. He wanted to call out his companions who were still lazily lying on the ground and dozing off, but unfortunately, after calling for a long time, a big guy crawled up. He began to slowly crawl towards Zhou's position, but Zhou couldn't praise the speed, which was really pitifully slow. Oh, you still find friends to share, but looking at your sneaky look, this may be your wife or lover. Of course, Zhou is also possible, but I don't know if this species is the kind of animal with a romantic relationship. Zhou looked at the behavior of the giant tortoise and began to spoof the elephant tortoise. The elephant tortoise seemed to have heard Zhou's words and called Zhou a few times with a hoarse voice of woo woo. As for what it meant, Zhou could only say that he didn't know. This little thing. Shouldn't it be this old thing? Zhou muttered with a smile, and then looked at one of the whitecoats. The man also saw Zhou looking at him, so he immediately walked over. Do you know how old this thing, this giant tortoise is? I know, sir. This is a Galapagos tortoise, which is a subspecies of the Galapagos tortoise. According to our calculations, this tortoise is probably over 70 years old now. Compared with us humans, it is probably an adult, that is, 26 or 27 years old. The white coat said politely to Zhou. Oh, it's only over 70 years old. I thought that, if it wanted to grow this big, it would have to be at least hundreds or thousands of years old. Sir, how is that possible? Scientists estimate that the lifespan of the Galapagos tortoise is only over 200 years old. The oldest tortoise known is held in an Australian zoo, and she only lived to be over 170 years old. As for the tortoises that you mentioned that are hundreds or thousands of years old, I have never seen one. Except for myths, I have never seen a tortoise that old. Well, it seems that the reality is not that exaggerated. But I don't know if there are tortoises in China that are hundreds of years old. Zhou thought about it and didn't bother about this issue. He planned to buy these tortoises. Okay, thank you for your introduction. I think these are good. Do I have to wait until the auction to buy them? Zhou said to the man in the white coat. The man looked back and saw a person who seemed to be the person in charge and nodded. he said to Zhao Jixi with a smile. We still have a few of these tortoises. If you want them, some of them can be kept off the auction table. Zhao Jixi understood as soon as he heard it. As long as you can afford the price, you don't have to go to the auction. Haha. Very humane service. Okay, you name a price. If I think it's appropriate, I'll write you a check. Zhao Jixi said, but frowned again. But how do I get this thing back? Please rest assured, we can escort it to your home. You don't need to worry about this. The man thought something was wrong, but it turned out to be this kind of small matter, which scared him for nothing. That's the best. Tell me how much it costs in US dollars. Okay sir, there are several prices for all tortoises. Most of them are based on age. The price of sexually mature tortoises will be higher, and this kind of tortoise is probably over 20 years old. There is a big price difference between a teenage tortoise and a few-year-old tortoise. The man in the white coat said slowly to Zhao Jixi. Zhao Jixi looked at the man and found that he was not a professional salesperson. He talked for a long time without saying how much it cost. Zhao Jixi was not very interested in these things, so he said to him, stop, just tell me how much it costs, don't say this nonsense. Although the man in the white coat was not professional, his spirit was quite professional. He was not angry at all for Zhao Jixi interrupting him. Instead, he smiled more brightly and said to Zhao Jixi, okay, sir, as you wish. This 70-year-old tortoise will cost about $40,000, but with other expenses, the final price we give you is $70,000. $70,000 for one. This money is really fucking easy to earn. It's almost equal to the annual income of a middle-class family. These people still have to pay taxes. These people may not even have to pay taxes under a different name. Zhao Jixi heard the quotation and started to complain in his heart. Chapter 242. The turtle is big. The turtle's head is not small either. After making a few jokes with Huangdeling, Zhao Jixi started looking at tortoises here again. Oh, no, it should be the tortoise, which is as huge as an elephant. It is a species of tortoise whose scientific name is the elephant tortoise. Zhao Jixi looked at the labels outside. The Aldabra tortoise, the Galliper tortoise subspecies, the Angora tortoise, and the introduction of these subspecies of tortoises. Zhao Jixi looked carefully at the several big tortoises inside, which was indeed very shocking. The largest subspecies of the Galliper tortoise alone, in terms of height, has grown to Zhao Jixi's thigh. The length is more than 1 meter. When Zhao Jixi stared at it, this giant tortoise was also looking at Zhao Jixi. When its black eyes looked at Zhao Jixi felt that its eyes seemed to light up, and it gave him the feeling that Wang Ke at home saw a bone and ran towards him with a wagtail and begging for mercy. Sure enough, the volume is proportional to the size. The head is really not small. This tortoise is also the same, but this one walks slower. Zhao Jixi waited there for a while before it slowly came to him. It stuck its head out through the iron railings. Zhao Jixi stretched out his hand and secretly put a little water of vitality in the palm of his hand. The tortoise rolled its eyes, sucked hard with its nose, and began to lick Zhao Jixi's palm impatiently. After licking for a while, it found that there was no water coming out of it. It began to nudge Zhao Jixi's hand with its head like a spoiled child, and looked at Zhao Jixi pitifully. Zhao Jixi felt a little soft-hearted when he saw that look, so he secretly let water come out of his palm for it to drink. After drinking a lot, this thing felt full, or it could be said that the place where it stored water had filled up all the available places. So even if it still wanted to drink, it couldn't. According to Zhao Jixi's idea, this turtle must have drunk a lot of water before, otherwise this big turtle can only drink such a little. It's really a bit too sorry for its size. Then the giant turtle took 2 steps back, stretched its head back, and called a few times in the direction behind it. I wanted to call out my companions who were still lazily lying on the ground and dozing off, but unfortunately, after calling for a long time, a big guy crawled up. It began to crawl slowly towards Zhao Jixi's position, but Zhao Jixi couldn't praise the speed. It was really pitifully slow. Oh, you still find friends to share, but looking at your cunning look, this may be your wife or lover. Of course, Zioc is also possible, but I don't know if this species is the kind of love type animal. Zhao Jixi looked at the behavior of the giant turtle and began to spoof the elephant turtle. The tortoise seemed to have heard what Zhao Jixi said and called out to him with a hoarse voice of woo woo a few times. As for what it meant, Zhao Jixi could only say that he didn't know. This little thing, no, it should be this old thing. Zhao Jixi smiled and muttered, then looked at one of the white coats. The man also saw Zhao Jixi looking at him, so he immediately walked over. Do you know how big this thing, this giant tortoise is? Of course, sir, this is a Galapagos tortoise, which is a subspecies of the Galapagos tortoise. According to our calculations, this tortoise is about 70 years old now. Compared with us humans, it is probably an adult, that is, 26 or 27 years old. The white coat said politely to Zhao Jixi. Oh, it's only over 70 years old. I thought that, if it wanted to grow this big, it would have to be at least hundreds or thousands of years old. Sir, how is that possible? Scientists estimate that the lifespan of the Galapagos tortoise is only over 200 years old. The oldest tortoise known is Harriet in an Australian zoo, and she only lived to be over 170 years old. As for the tortoises that you mentioned that are hundreds or thousands of years old, I have never seen one. Except for myths, I have never seen a tortoise that old. Well, it seems that the reality is not that exaggerated. But I don't know if there are tortoises in China that are hundreds of years old. Zhao Jixi thought about it and didn't bother about this issue. He planned to buy these tortoises. Okay, thank you for your introduction. I think these are good. Do I have to wait until the auction to buy them? Zhao Jixi said to the man in the white coat. The man looked back and saw a person who seemed to be the person in charge and nodded. He said to Zhao Jixi with a smile, we still have a few of these tortoises. If you want them, some of them can be kept off the auction table. Zhao Jixi understood as soon as he heard it. As long as you can afford the price, you don't have to go to the auction. Haha. Very humane service. Okay, you name a price. If I think it's appropriate, I'll write you a check. Zhao Jixi said, but frowned again. But how do I get this thing back? Please rest assured, we can escort it to your home. You don't need to worry about this. The man thought something was wrong, but it turned out to be this kind of small matter, which scared him for nothing. That's the best. Tell me how much it costs in US dollars. Okay sir, there are several prices for all tortoises. Most of them are based on age. The price of sexually mature tortoises will be higher, and this kind of tortoise is probably over 20 years old. There is a big price difference between a teenage tortoise and a few-year-old tortoise. The man in the white coat said slowly to Zhao Jixi. Zhao Jixi looked at the man and found that he was not a professional salesperson. He talked for a long time without telling the exact price. Zhao Jixi was not very interested in these things, so he said to him, stop, just tell me how much it costs, don't say this nonsense. Although the man in the white coat was not professional, his spirit was quite professional. He was not angry at all for Zhao Jixi interrupting him. Instead, he smiled more brightly and said to Zhao Jixi, okay, sir, as you wish. This 70-year-old tortoise will cost about $40,000, but with the other expenses, the final price we give you is $70,000. $70,000 for one. This money is really fucking easy to earn. It's almost equal to the annual income of a middle-class family. These people still have to pay taxes, but these people may not even have to pay taxes under a different name. After hearing the offer, Zhao Jixi started to spit in his heart. Although he was not very happy with the price, but who told him to like them, Zhao Jixi still bought them. Chapter 223 continued. PS. Sorry everyone, I made a mistake when cutting, and now I have to fix it. Although Zhao Jixi was not very satisfied with the price, he did not bother with him, because he thought it was also a disaster for the United States. But he could not help but sigh in his heart. This man is really in the United States, but his heart is in China. Of course, with Zhao Jixi's current acting skills, this person could not tell that Zhao Jixi was entangled with the money for a while. If you know, he will definitely have a different view of the so-called rich kids. Although the price he gave was a bit high, it was also considered that he would not even go to the auction house after giving it to him. After all, if it really goes to auction, there will be all kinds of situations. Although there is also the risk of genre, this is obviously not within their consideration. According to their thinking, there may be a few idiots who spend a lot of money to buy it, so they added a loss fee to Zhou Jixi's purchase price. But Zhou Jixi also liked this thing very much, so he did not bother with them. Then Zhou Jixi readily agreed to this matter, saying that he could buy a few tortoises at the price he said. The white coat suddenly showed a happy face and said to Zhou Jixi, "Sir, do you want to pay by credit card or check?" "Write a check," Zhou Jixi said lightly, and then took out a checkbook from his clothes. Just as he was about to write on it, he suddenly stopped. Looking back at the white coat, he said to him, "How many tortoises do you have here now?" "Ah." The white coat was surprised by Zhou Jixi's action just now and thought he didn't want to buy it again. Who knew that he suddenly asked about this matter, but the white coat looked at Zhou Jixi's expression. He immediately knew that it should be a good thing. There are a total of 5 adult tortoises here, and some are not yet adults. Zhou Jixi said "oh" to indicate that he knew, and then looked at the several big tortoises in the cage. At this moment, except for the tortoise that had just drunk water, the others were still eating heartlessly. The tortoise that had just interacted with Zhou Jixi seemed to know something. It suddenly called out in Zhou Jixi's direction a few times, and its eyes seemed to be looking at Zhou Jixi. "This thing looks like an adult," Zhou Jixi muttered, and he was ready to buy all of them. Anyway, turtles are also mascots in Chinese culture, so there is no harm in keeping them. Besides, Zhou Jixi also likes this thing. After deciding, Zhou Jixi wrote a check and asked them to arrange the delivery service. Otherwise, Zhou Jixi really didn't know how to get these big guys back in reality. Of course, if you use the space, it will be different. You can just put them in there and go home peacefully. Not only does it save trouble, but it can also save money. Zhou Jixi still has some resentment for these guys who earned him $360,000 in a short time. After buying things, the shipping fee has to be paid by himself. Just for this, Zhou Jixi spent another $10,000 to let them help deliver the goods to his home. With a little bit of dissatisfaction, Zhou Jixi thought of what he often did when he was on Tao Bao in his previous life. That is to ask him for gifts. After buying so many things, he must give something anyway. So when handing him the check, Zhou Jixi specifically asked, "I bought so much, do you want to give me something?" The white coat grabbed the check, but because Zhou Jixi didn't mean to let go, he didn't dare to use too much force, for fear of tearing the check. After hearing Zhou Jixi's words, the white coat thought for a while. "Okay, sir, we will have a small gift for you." "Well, that's good." Zhou Jixi nodded to show satisfaction, but he still didn't let go of his hand. Then he looked at the white coat with a smile and said to him, "But don't just give me things to perfunctory me. I'm a person who likes surprises." "Of course, sir." After the white coat finished speaking, he took Zhou Jixi's check as he wished. After taking a look, he put it away with a smile on his face. "Do you need anything else?" "Yes," Zhou Jixi nodded and said, and then as if he was afraid of someone next to him, he moved closer to the white coat and said to him mysteriously, "Get me 2 of the Komodo dragon outside, that is, the big lizard, and also the platypus I just saw, that's all. Get me 2 too." After saying that, Zhou Jixi paused and then said to him, "Don't tell the woman outside about my buying the big lizard." Zhou Jixi said this and then felt that it seemed a bit bad. So he said again, "Well, you guys better not tell anyone. Secretly help me get these things back." The white coat listened to Zhou Jixi's words, and his face was happy. The price he sold to Zhou Jixi was the average price of the auction. In other words, it would be a little higher than the general price. So the more people like Zhou Jixi buy, the more profit they make. After all, there are still more smart people in this world, and it is not easy to meet a brainless person. "Okay, Mr. Zhou, we can meet all your requirements." "Oh, haha. That's fine. Calculate how much money it is, and I'll write you a check." After Zhou Jixi finished his work here, he began to accompany Huan Duling to go shopping. He has now bought several new species, and he has no plans to buy other things for the time being. However, after Zhou Jixi walked around, he had to sigh that this place is really good. He saw many animals that he didn't know before, and most of them are protected animals in various countries, and some are special products of a certain country, which cannot be seen in other countries. Although some things are not as comprehensive as those in the zoo, they are much more fun than those in the zoo. Zhou regretted not bringing Zhou Xianshan here at the end. If she saw so many strange species, she would definitely sigh non-stop. Then she would keep saying wow, wow, and her little face was definitely red with excitement. Then she looked at him excitedly. When Zhou thought of this, he missed her a little. He was really a bad uncle. He brought her out to play, and even left her to the nannies, although these nannies were all good looking. Chapter 224 smells good. Knowing that someone was coming, they stopped playing Mahjong. Visit download TXT novels. They all came to the living room and asked the nanny to pour a few cups of tea, and they all drank elegantly there. The temperament of the ladies was immediately revealed, which showed that they had something in common when they were together. The nanny brought Neha to the living room where the others were, and they were a little surprised to see her face. Unexpectedly, she was a foreign girl, not an American or a Chinese as they thought, but an Indian girl. This kid is not honest. Suddenly one of them had this idea. The girl in front of them was full of exotic flavor, with a good face and a slender and round figure. She had a temperament on the surface, and she looked very likable. In addition, this girl looked really good, and those two background breasts were also very eye-catching. When the godmother saw Neha, she got up and walked towards her. "You are Neha, thank you for making a trip." The godmother didn't notice and spoke to Neha in Mandarin. During this period, I had been following the others and speaking Chinese, so I spoke it out now. "Yes, Madam Lee, it's not a big deal. I just took a taxi, and it was a quick trip, but the road was a little congested." Neha looked at the elegant woman in front of her and said very elegantly, but her tone was still a little weird. Of course, when she was in the United States, Zhou sounded much better than others. It was like finding a tall person among short people. This is the way it is in the capital. "I have been here for a while and I understand it. Come and sit for a while." As she said that, the godmother took Neha's hand and took her to the sofa where several people were sitting, asked her to sit next to her, and held a cup of tea in her hand for her. "Thank you." Neha smiled and nodded to the people sitting there, and then said to the godmother who handed over the teacup, "Drink, it's been quite hot all the way here, and this tea is quite thirst quenching." After drinking the tea, Neha handed the large bottle in her right hand to the godmother. "This is what the boss asked me to give you. Please accept it." The godmother took the bottle and said to Neha, "Okay, thank you. You have already accepted the things, then I will take my leave first, Ms. Lee." After finishing her work, Neha said goodbye and went back to the hotel to rest. After all, she still had work to do tomorrow, so it was really inconvenient to stay here. Seeing her like this, her godmother didn't force her to stay here. Besides, this was not her home, so it was not convenient to make a decision to keep her. However, she asked Cheng Ying's driver and car to send her back first, so as to save the trouble of taking a taxi. After working for a while, she went back to the sofa with Cheng Ying and sat down again. After sitting down, she saw the plump woman holding the stainless steel bottle with Lilin, looking at it as if she wanted to study how to open it. But after searching for a long time, she couldn't find a switch or a gap that could be opened. "Zhuan, come and see how this thing is opened. We have been looking at it for a long time, but can't tell what it is." "What does your godson do? This thing looks so strange," Lilin said to her godmother. You probably won't be able to tell, even if you look at it for a long time. You should ask Zhuan to do it yourself," Cheng Ying said to the two of them with a smile. "Haha, okay, I'll do it. He told me so yesterday," the godmother said as she walked over and took over the slightly heavy thing. She gestured at the base and pressed the top of the bottle. The bottle immediately released a few streams of cold air and then puffed. The godmother took off half of the lid. "Oh, this thing is very advanced. I don't know what it is," Lilin said in surprise. "Yes, it's like watching TV. It seems that I have seen it in that movie, but I can't remember it." The godmother smiled and said nothing. She asked the nanny to take a piece of cloth and took out the inner pot of the medicinal food from the bottle with cold air. Then she asked the nanny to take a casserole, open the inner pot, and pour the contents into the casserole. Now everyone can see what is inside, but she quickly put the lid back on and asked the nanny to take it and add it. "Chicken soup. Yes, it is chicken soup. But it seems that some medicinal herbs have been added. The three people discussed briefly and then looked at the godmother, wanting to get an answer from her. Yes, this kid said that he had just learned how to make this kind of chicken soup recently, so he asked his assistant to bring me a portion for tasting. He said that it was made according to some ancient medicinal recipe, and a lot of precious medicinal herbs were added to it. The godmother said proudly, "You sent chicken soup from 1,000 miles away, and this jar alone is worth a lot of money. I don't know whether to say that your child is filial, or that he is a spendthrift." Leland said to the few people with a strange look on her face. "Of course the child is filial. If my son is like this, I will be satisfied even if I die." The plump woman said with envy. "Look at you. Go home and educate your children well. I'm so tired of listening to you here." Cheng Ying waved her hand in front of her mouth, as if this could destroy the sour taste in her mouth. "Sister Ying." Several women smiled and started joking again. While they were chatting, the chicken soup was quickly heated up, and a fragrance soon wafted out from the kitchen. Several people were surprised for a moment, and then the nanny brought out the food and divided it into small bowls for each person. Golden chicken soup, tender chicken, and a few slices of ginseng and other herbs had been picked up by the nanny. So the bowl was indeed very clean at this time, and the appearance was first class and beautiful, plus the tempting taste. These rich ladies couldn't help swallowing their saliva. "I've eaten a lot of good things, but I've never wanted to eat this as much as I do now. Yes, this taste is so tempting." "Zhuan, is this really cooked by your godson?" He said it was him, so he wouldn't lie to me. The godmother asked everyone to try a little. After all, everyone was here, so they couldn't eat alone. No one was polite. It was really delicious. The chicken in the space, plus half of it were herbs and ginseng in the space. Of course, there was no need to say much about the taste of the ingredients. With the old lady's cooking skills, even a top chef might not be able to make this pot of chicken soup. Even if he could, he couldn't find this kind of space ingredients. So it was understandable that several people were drooling. "Wow, this tastes absolutely amazing. I've never tasted such delicious chicken soup." Leland said with an exaggerated look on her face, but at this time no one thought her expression was exaggerated at all. In fact, they also felt the same way. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 225, full of praise. The first person just finished speaking, and the next person couldn't help but continue. "Not only the soup, but also the chicken is delicious. You all try it. The taste of this meat is really good." The plump woman, Zheng Yun, also said, "Zhuan, your godson is not a chef. The soup he makes is simply amazing." Cheng Ying also praised it. Of course, she also knew that this was impossible, but at this time she could only use this to express her admiration. No, how can he be a chef? He is so lazy, and almost everything is done by his subordinates. He just likes to be lazy and have fun. He used to fry eggs and roast sweet potatoes. I also saw that he could cook when I was in Korea, but his skills were not up to this level. The godmother said with a smile. "This is really amazing. This." Several women all took Zhao Jix's arm, took advantage of the godmother's beauty, and then unceremoniously divided the pot of chicken soup. On the second day, several people discovered the most significant changes. Not only did her body, which had some minor problems, feel much better, but her sleep at night also improved. She slept all the way until the morning today, and when she looked in the mirror in the morning, she suddenly found that her skin had improved a lot. Even the crow's feet seemed to have faded a little, and she looked a few years younger. Leland, who had changed a lot, looked in the mirror in the morning and screamed "ah," which scared her husband and children. They all ran in, thinking something had happened. "Mom, what are you doing? It was so early in the morning, and you scared me. I thought something had happened to you," the daughter said to her mother Leland with crumbs on the corners of her mouth. "Yes, what's wrong, Mom? Take a closer look. Have you noticed any changes in me?" Leland said to her children. "Changes? What changes?" It's still the same as usual. Today, my skin is just a little better, and the crow's feet seem to have less. Your face also looks a little radiant. At this point, the daughter finally reacted. Ah. Oh, Mom. What kind of cosmetics did you use? It's so effective. Let me see it. The daughter said as she moved her hands and feet to Lilin, and looked at her mother's skin carefully. Her husband Chen Lei also looked at his wife in surprise. She was indeed radiant. That beautiful face made him feel as if he had returned to his youth, when he was amazed when he first saw his wife. Wife, what's wrong with you? I don't know. When I woke up in the morning, I washed my face and brushed my teeth as usual. But when I looked in the mirror, I found that I seemed to be several years younger. Lilin was also full of questions, but she touched her face happily, as if she liked it more and more, and she couldn't let it go. I'm so envious, Mom. Your skin doesn't look like you're 40. Did you take some magic pill? The daughter is also a beauty-loving person. Seeing the changes in her mother, she was envious. Magic pill, magic pill. Lilin heard her daughter's words and suddenly began to mutter to herself, as if something flashed through her mind. Yeah, I remember it. Yesterday, when I was playing Mahjong at your Aunt Chengaying's house, your Aunt Zhuan's son asked his assistant to bring back a bowl of chicken soup from the United States. It seemed that a lot of medicinal herbs were added to it. After thinking about it, I think the strangest thing I drank yesterday was this. Chicken soup. Is chicken soup so powerful? I don't know. At that time, I heard your Aunt Zhuan say that it was a medicinal diet or a secret recipe, and it used precious medicinal herbs. I can't recognize the others, but I know ginseng. It looks like wild ginseng. Lilin said to her family with a look of reminiscence. Chicken soup. Her husband Chen Lei also looked strange. Medicinal diet. Secret recipe. The things of the old Jianghu masters are so powerful. No, I'll call and ask first. I wasn't the only one who drank it yesterday. I don't know if the other people had any effect. Thinking of this, Lilin immediately picked up the phone and called Chengaying to ask. Hello, Sister Ying. Ah, what do you mean, you too? Yes, I noticed it too. What about Zhuan? She too. Oh my god, this thing works so well. Wait a minute, I'll be there now. Okay, just change clothes right away. After saying that, he hung up the phone with an excited look on his face. Mom, wait for me, I'm going to. At this time, there were only 2 men left in the room, and they looked at each other for a while. Well, Dad, can I take a day off today? What for? I want to go and see with my mom. He glanced at his dad carefully again, and seeing that he seemed to be about to lose his temper, he quickly continued, I'm not doing this for myself. Didn't you ask me to pursue Uncle Lin's daughter? I think women all love beauty, and I'm going to explore the way. His dad paused and said in a deep voice, well, then you go, and you are not allowed to run off to play halfway, understand? I know, I'll be with Mom. Not long after, a group of people gathered at Chengaying's house. Several older women sat together, and their friends who had heard the news were beside them, looking at them with envy. If drinking chicken soup can produce such an effect, why would you have to suffer through surgery? You are such a shame. You guys have no conscience. You didn't even call me yesterday, and drank it all by yourself. I hate you. One person said to the radiant women with envy and hatred. Sister Ying, you have become younger too. Yes, not only that, I found that some women's minor ailments are slowly getting better now. After saying that, she looked at her godmother, with a complicated expression on her face. Zhuan, the chicken soup your godson sent is not simple. I specially checked it today, and those ginseng slices alone are all old mountain ginseng, probably fresh wild ginseng. Many other medicinal herbs are also priceless. Just with these things, the value of the soup we drink is probably not low. This kid, I just called to ask, this is indeed made with a secret recipe. He recently worshipped a master and invited him home, and these were all taught by that master. The ingredients used are indeed herbs. He said this thing can keep the face young and replenish ki. The godmother also smiled and told the story. The effect is so good, Zhuan, look. Don't even think about it. My godson said that the herbs here are hard to find. That old wild ginseng is over 50 years old. Some other things are not so easy to match. Besides, he doesn't have time to do this every day. He is very lazy. The godmother immediately refused. Born in Korea, she knew the value of wild ginseng. Chapter 226 Women. There is one more thing. I seem to have made it to the Sanjiang reward list, although I don't know what it is. But after all this time, I finally have a list to be on. Now I'm asking for votes. Please. Zhou Yao thanked. Although I don't need that little bit of money, the main thing is that this thing is very hard to find. Sometimes I can't buy it, even if I have money. Just now Cheng-Ang asked if Zhao Jixi still has wild ginseng. She wants to buy one, of course. She is talking about the kind of last year. But this kind is the most difficult to get. There is no one for sale on the market, and some have been bought by insiders. It can still be seen in the market. If this is a normal year of ginseng, she can help Cheng-Ang buy it in Korea. The old year is really a bit difficult to get. This is not only a matter of money, but also owes favors. There are limited things in the first place. If you take one less, you may need it someday. Anyway, rich people don't lack this little money, so they are not afraid of losing money if they buy it. So a few women discussed this there. Their daughters were full of curiosity about Zhao Jixi and kept trying to find out who this man was. If Zhao Jixi knew, he would not know whether he would be happy or sad that he was being thought of by these women. Although the ladies from wealthy families have innate advantages, there are also many ugly ones. Not all of them are beauties. They just have good temperaments, and with some light makeup clothes, they have KO'd many female fans. Kiki, I have found out clearly that this Zhao Jixi seems to be the brother of the man who came to have a blind date with you. He is Aunt Zhuan's godson, and the two of them were childhood friends. A little fat girl ran over and said to the sisters. The three of them looked at each other and looked at Kiki ambiguously. One of the tall women said to her in a funny way, asterisk Kiki, why don't you use the beauty trick to get Li Shuang to do it? Then, I'll do it for Zhao Jixi. What do you think? Sister Anaya, what are you talking about? Seriously, I won't tell you anymore. The girl named Kiki blushed a lot. She looked like a very iconic girl. Her personality was a little quiet, with a bit of the flavor of a Jiangnan girl, and she had a lot of bookish air. This was also the reason why her godmother liked her. The little girl was really good, and her mother was her classmate, which was also a reason. Oh, Sister Anaya, you're really selfish. You do it, I can do it too. Xiuli next to her was not to be outdone. She straightened her chest, which was surging among the few people, among the Chinese people, and said to the few people, AI, you little slut, you actually betrayed us sisters for a man you've never met. Anaya acted ridiculous for a while, and then she went up to tickle Xiuli in anger. When she was still angry, she slapped her butt a few times, and her plump buttocks suddenly swelled, and the fluctuation was very attractive. First of all, let me make it clear that I'm not in it. If you want to argue, don't involve me. The little fat girl immediately turned against her. Although this person is a little fat, her facial features and skin are very delicate. It can be seen that she should be a beauty embryo, but it's a pity that she is a little fat, or a little fat. You guys. Anna was also helpless with these people. The laughter of a bunch of sisters immediately attracted the male comrades over there. However, after seeing Anaya, Xiuli and the fat girl, they couldn't help but feel cold in their lower body and shivered all over. These women are very famous in the circle. Once, several of them kicked a man's balls and said that they even kicked the little guy off. Later, someone called the police, and Anaya took the matter seriously and was detained for more than 30 days. In the end, his father and the parents of several other women had some influence. They dealt with people in the prison and police system and got her medical parole, sparing her from the suffering of prison. After she was released, things did not stop. The man was always attacked by unknown people. It was said that the man and his family could not stand it anymore, but they had no evidence to sue them. In desperation, they ran to rescue them themselves, kicked each of the women again, and sent them to the hospital for a few months before the matter was settled. This incident also made them a little famous in the capital, mainly because of the ruthlessness of these women, which really made them a little surprised. Still looking? Watch out for your balls. You still want those crazy women. If you sleep with them and then cheat on them, they will cut you off at night. You won't even have a place to cry when you have a place to go. Ah. No? Why not? I tell you, I can tell from your behavior that you don't know the hero list very well. Those few. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Who is saying bad things about me? Women. Who is thinking about me? Zhao Jixi suddenly sneezed for no reason at home in the United States. He didn't know at this time that many women in China began to miss him. From the grandmother level to the little lolly, it can be said that they are all included. Is this the beginning of a pot of chicken soup? Zhao Jixi was about to continue his exercise when the nanny suddenly came in with a phone and said that a man named Darling Huang wanted to see him. He stopped practicing and wiped the sweat off his face with a towel. He stretched his shoulders a few times and walked over to take the cordless phone handed over by the nanny. Hey, darling, what good news do you have for me today? Jess, how do you know I have good news for you? Huang Darling was a little surprised and then continued, but I have to say, you guessed right. I really have something good to say to you. Oh, it can't be true. Are you trying to lie to me? Zhao Jixi's words just now were definitely a joke, but he didn't expect Huang Darling to go with the flow, which made him suspicious. I'm really not lying to you. It's really good news. Anyway, I'm in San Francisco. If you are interested, come quickly. If you are late, there will be nothing. Haha. Huang Darling's tone was very proud. It seemed that there was really something, but Zhao Jixi didn't believe it too much. After all, he didn't tell me anything. Haha. Darling, I don't really believe you. You didn't tell me clearly when you called me. How can I believe you? Zhao Jixi said helplessly. In that case, I'll give you a hint about large animals. Is there any chance? Huang Darling thought for a while and felt that something was wrong. He felt guilty and told Zhao Jixi something. Large animals? It won't be a zoo. Darling, how old are you? You still want to go to the zoo? I'm speechless. Zhao Jixi didn't react and thought he was going to the zoo, but he had no chance of this. Chapter 227. Underwear Party? Large animals? It's not a zoo. Darling, how old are you? You still want to go to the zoo? I'm speechless to you. Zhao Jixi didn't react and thought he was going to the zoo, but he had no interest in this. No, it's a large animal trade. There is a trade fair recently, which is organized by the club's internal staff. I saw that you are very interested in raising these things, so I called you. Huang Darling didn't pretend anymore and told Zhao Jixi about the matter directly. Trade fair? I like raising animals? How come I don't know that I like raising animals? You have gone to the farm to raise cattle, and you still don't like raising animals? How good is the big city? You have to go to the countryside. There is not even a high-end club. Except for hunting. It's really not a fun place. Huang Darling said to Zhao Jixi. Zhao Jixi was speechless for a while, but despite this, he was a little interested in this trade fair. You obviously can't understand my fun. Wait for me, man. I'm leaving for San Francisco now. Come to the airport to pick me up as soon as possible. After saying that, Zhao Jixi hung up. Hang up on me, Zhu. I haven't finished yet. Looking at the phone that had been turned off, he said to himself. Zhao Jixi ran to take a shower, talked to the old lady, and chatted with Xianshan for a while. After getting the consent of the two, Zhao Jixi drove to the airport. On the way, he also called the airport and asked them to reserve a ticket for the nearest flight. Zhao Jixi calculated the time. It was basically enough. As long as he parked the car at the airport, he would basically be in time if he walked faster. After arriving at the airport, Zhao Jixi handed the car to the staff and asked them to take it for maintenance. Only then did he rush on the plane. After staying on the plane for more than half an hour, the plane flew to the airport in San Francisco. It is said that there is still a big gap between small planes and large planes. The comfort level is not good. Fortunately, it's only for more than half an hour. If it's flying to China, it will be exhausting. After getting off the plane, Zhao Jixi carried a fashionable small bag and a pair of sunglasses. With a cool expression on his face, he walked out of the aisle. He saw Huang Darling from a distance and quickened his pace to walk over. This way. What are you looking at? Zhao Jixi said to him with a smile. I see, Jesse, you seem to have become more handsome these days. Huang Daling looked at Zhao Jixi with surprise. TSK. It seems that you have been exercising recently. Look at this muscle. God, it's so explosive. He slapped Huang Daling's strange hand touching him and said to him with a strange look, Darling, you will be misunderstood if you look like this. Don't you see the eyes of the people around you? Shit, you are still touching. Zhao Jixi looked at his hand that was stretched out again and couldn't help but burst into swearing. I'm just appreciating it. Don't think it's disgusting. Huang Daling felt a little uncomfortable, probably because of the strange looks from the people around him. Let's go. We are going to be late. He then inexplicably pulled Zhao Jixi out. It's about to start. Didn't you say it wouldn't be that fast? Zhao Jixi shook off his hand, walked beside him, and asked Huang Daling. That thing won't be that fast, but there's one good thing. Let's go have some fun first, and then go to the trade fair in the evening. Huang Daling had a weird smile on his face, and his eyes had a slightly you-know-what expression, and he said to Zhao Jixi with a smile. What's the matter? Don't laugh like that, it's weird. Zhao Jixi said to Huang Daling, after feeling a chill on his neck. A friend just sent me a message saying that they organized a lingerie party. What do you think? Do you want to go and have a look? Lingerie party? The kind where people wear sexy lingerie and then everyone has fun and drinks together? Of course. What do you think? Are you not used to it? I know that your growing environment is a bit traditional, but everyone is. Huang Daling thought that Jay Chou could not accept his party culture and just wanted to say something to persuade Jay Chou. But when he turned his head to look at Jay Chou, hey, where is he? Jay Chou walked to the front. Huang Daling looked at his back and said, is he angry? He can't be so stingy. I didn't lie to him. This is an emergency. Darling, what are you still doing? Hurry up, I can't wait to see those beauties. Jay Chou didn't wait for him and continued to walk out, but he obviously forgot that the car keys were not with him. Puchy. I really worried for nothing. Huang Daling couldn't help but laugh and then followed him. Jess, wait for me, you don't have the address yet. Huang Daling was driving the car and Zhao Jixi was sitting next to him, looking outside, thinking about something in his mind. Darling, when will we arrive? There won't be any ugly girls later, and do I have to wear underwear later? KO, please say something. Zhao Jixi suddenly felt a little irritated. After all, it was the first time he attended such an interesting party. If he accidentally got hard at the party, it would be, oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. Thinking of this, his heart was a little confused. Just now, he was imagining looking at beautiful women in lace, and now he was really a little careful. Hey, man, be quiet. I'm still driving. Huang Daling stretched out a hand, touched his ear, and said to Zhao Jixi helplessly. He turned his head to look at Zhao Jixi, then looked back at the road, but said, I thought you wouldn't be nervous. You ran so fast just now, and now you are nervous. Haha. Zhao Ji was silent for a while, then told him all his concerns, wanting him to think of any solution. But Huang Daling looked at him strangely. Jess, are you really that sensitive? A little stimulation will. At this point, Huang Daling took out his hand and clenched it into a fist. Finally, with a puff sound, he flicked a finger. Zhao Jixi thought about it and felt that it should be possible, so he nodded a little sadly. Oh my god, what's the matter with you? Huang Daling touched his head with one hand and said to him with an absurd look. Not really, I think there is this possibility. Oh, what's the look in your eyes? I said it's just a possibility. Zhao Jixi said, a little annoyed by Huang Daling's look. Then, he said carefully, and in a low voice, a little guilty, I'll try my best to control myself. It should, maybe, or won't be a problem. But will they tease me? Huang Daling glanced at him and said, what do you think? Chapter 228, Masturbation. Huang Daling drove to the Hilton Hotel next to Union Square in San Francisco, which is located at the intersection of the historical center and Chinatown. Next to it are Market Street, Union Square, Embarcadero Shopping Plaza, Fisherman's Wharf, North Beach and Nob Hill, etc. Various Chinese restaurants and Asian food halls are lined up around the hotel. Zhao Jixi saw a lot of Chinese style stores or restaurant signs on the road here. California is indeed the state with the most immigrants in the United States. Zhao Jixi often sees various black-eyed and yellow-skinned people on the streets of San Francisco. However, I don't know how many of them there are. After all, there are many Koreans, Japanese, Vietnamese, Chinese, etc. who are similar, so it's hard to tell. After getting off the car, a waiter ran over to help open the car door. Huang Darling threw the phone to the other party and took Zhao Jixi into the hotel door. Before Zhao Jixi left, he looked at the 27-story building and said, "Hilton Hotel? This name is very familiar. Jess, let's go. What are you still looking at? It's almost time. We still need to take a shower and change clothes. Hurry up." As he said that, he couldn't wait to come over and pull Zhao Jixi, dragging him, who was a little dazed, inside. The two first arrived at a suite opened by Huang Darling, took a shower, and changed into a set of nice and sexy underwear, and then set off to the party on the top floor. Huang Darling quickly took a shower in the bathroom, while Zhao Jixi took a shower in the inner shower. Huang Darling looked at Zhao Jixi dawdling, and couldn't help but called him, "Jess, are you done? Hurry up and stop dawdling, okay?" Zhao Jixi was silent for a while, and then murmured to Huang Darling, "Darling, I'm still a little worried about myself. What do you think I should do? I don't want to embarrass myself at the scene. That would be my shame." Huang Darling laughed immediately, hugged his stomach with both hands, and the tears on his face couldn't stop. "Ha ha ha, Jess, ha ha, why are you still thinking about this? Please, ha ha, I'm dying of laughter, my stomach hurts. Ha ha." Shed Huang Darling, "You have to think of a way for me. Now is not the time for you to laugh." Zhao Jixi couldn't help but blush, and his tone became a little louder, trying to cover up his shyness and embarrassment. Okay, wait a moment. Wait a moment. I'll help you right away." Huang Darling ran out after saying that, and turned out his bag in the room. He took out another large flat panel MP5 player, turned to a certain page, and took something from the bedside table in the room, and walked towards Zhao Jixi. At this time, there was no Apple tablet computer. It would take a few months for jobs to be released by the Opera Arts Center, and then it would become a tablet for sweeping the world. At this time, electronic products such as MP4 and MP5 were still rampant. Huang Darling, wait a minute, I'm here. How about it? At the critical moment, you still need Dad to help you. Huang Darling said as he ran towards him. Go to hell. What a heartless person. You think I can teach a friend like you? Huang Darling pretended to be sad and said to Zhao Jixi, "Hey, forget it. Who said I'm a good person? It's really a bit helpless. Okay, stop your boring nonsense. Have you thought of it?" Zhao Jixi was unmoved. Obviously, these are all small things at this time, and solving the problem of the little brother is the big deal. Okay, I'll follow your advice. I've already thought of a way. He handed over everything in his hand, and Zhao Jixi reached out to take it behind the curtain. MP5 and vegetable lubricant? Yes, I think if you just come right now and lower the pressure, you probably won't make a fool of yourself later. He looked at his watch again, and then said to Zhao Jixi, "It's a bit late to find a call girl now, you should do it yourself. I have stored all kinds of passionate videos of women from all over the world, and I don't share them with ordinary people. This time I'll give it to you. Quickly, don't dawdle, this is not the time to be a hero. I want myself to masturbate." Zhao Jixi was stunned for a moment. Speaking of which, he had used it a little in his previous life, but he never did it again after this rebirth. It feels a bit weird to do it by himself now. Of course, Jixi, hurry up, think about it. You don't want to make a fool of yourself. Think about that pile of lace, bikinis, all kinds of sexy underwear, and all kinds of sexy and hot beauties. I feel like I've entered the Garden of Eden. Huang Darling urged Zhao Jixi. In the bathroom, Zhao Jixi looked at the things in his hand, and then looked at his little brother, who was a little excited by what Huang Darling said. To jerk off or not to jerk off? Jerk off. He thought for a while with a little hesitation. "Darling, can't you call a girl in? Why do I have to do it myself? What time is it to think about this? If you find it now, it will be too late and unsafe." Don't you want to go to the Iron Gate to party later? The police in San Francisco like fishing very much, so we'd better be careful. Hurry up, Jess. Time waits for no one, and beautiful women wait for no one. If it's too late, all the beautiful girls will be taken away by those idiots. Huang Darling said to Zhao Jixi with an anxious expression and tone of hurry up. Zhao Jixi also knew that it was not realistic to ask a woman to solve it, so he looked at the fifth girl and then looked at the things in his hand. He made a fierce expression. Okay, I'll masturbate. I've masturbated for thousands of years. If I don't masturbate, I'll be ashamed. Kids, I've wronged you this time, but you deserved it. Daddy won't cheat you. Zhao Jixi said with a sad face, and then opened a Japanese movie in his MP5. It's still this intimate. He put it on the table and squeezed a little lubricant with his right hand. After rubbing his hands, he slowly attacked the little brother. After a while, Zhao Jixi looked in the mirror and looked at the underwear prepared by Huang Darling. It was black with a little dark pattern and a little reflective material in it, so it looked unusually bright. Plus Zhao Jixi's increasingly perfect body with distinct muscles. It really blinded the women's golden dog eyes. Although Huang Darling was also full of muscles, there was still a gap compared to Zhao Jixi. It didn't look as tight and perfect as Zhao Jixi. The muscles seemed to glow, making people want to touch them to have fun. What an enviable body. After touching it for a few times, Huang Darling said jealously, I wonder how many girls will sacrifice themselves to your stick this time. Zhao Jixi got goosebumps from being touched and quickly slapped his hand away. Get away and don't take advantage of me all the time. This is for women to touch, not for a man like you to peek at. If you had surgery, I could give you a chance. Get away. You just went for surgery and you want me to be a woman before I've been a mini-man enough. Huang Darling was so angry that he punched Zhao Jixi. The two of them put on another coat and went to the party together. Chapter 229, Waves and Breasts. Riding in the elevator of Dooley, the two of them were wearing boxers clothes, one white and one blue. The colors were very bright. Welcome to Reading, darling. The tattoo on your body is nice. It looks very eye-catching. Zhao Jixi suddenly thought of this and said to Huang Darling. Zhao Jixi was a little envious of the tattoo on his body, and sometimes he wanted to get one himself. However, the tattoo art of Westerners has different interpretations in the eyes of Orientals. Although there are many meanings, most of them are negative, which is commonly known as villains and underworld society. This also made him, who was born under the red flag, a little hesitant, mainly because he was afraid of what his family would say, and he was a little embarrassed. Of course, for this, I spent more than a month to carve out this picture on my body. At this point, Huang Darling couldn't help but open his clothes a little. Look here, look at this color, and the head and eyes on the back. OMG, these are all God's masterpieces. At this time, Huang Darling was simply a typical representative of half-exposed breasts. Outsiders would think that he looked a bit shameless. Okay, I know, don't do that. You look like this now, it's easy for people to misunderstand you. Zhao Jixi said as he pushed him aside. He looked like that now. It was really too much. While the two were talking, the elevator reached the top floor of the hotel, which was the 27th floor. As soon as the elevator opened, Zhao Jixi and Huang Darling came out, and two black bodyguards wearing suits and earphones stood on both sides of the elevator door, staring at the two people. Zhao Jixi was stunned for a moment, and was frightened by the two people who blended into the darkness, especially the two white teeth. Asterisk, it was really unpleasant. Of course he would not admit that he was frightened. In order to cover it up, he couldn't help but complain in his mouth. KO, his mother, the light is so dim, and two black people are standing here. What the hell is this? Although he was unhappy, Zhao Jixi used the dialect of his hometown, not the Chinese language. Only Huang Darling could understand the swearing, but the others were not very clear. The bodyguards thought that he suddenly said something to his companions when he saw someone, and then he became a little unfriendly. As for the reactions of these bodyguards, they didn't provoke them or cursed them in person with words that they could understand or comprehend. They ignored it, and obviously, they were used to it. These rich kids are a little neurotic. Although sometimes they are well educated, Sometimes some small things can also cause their disgust. The bodyguards don't care about these. Anyway, as long as they don't provoke them, they basically say what they want, and the bodyguards continue to do their own things. So after Huang Duling took out the invitation letter, he politely invited them in. After passing the first level, they walked to a corridor with a slightly pink tone. There were some fluorescent lights around, and the light was concentrated on the crystal for reflection. The surroundings were very dreamy. The two looked like they were dyed with fluorescent light, and their bodies were different from the skin color, which surprised Zhao Jixi. We'll be in the dressing room soon. Just check in your clothes there. Don't be too nervous, okay? Huang Duling suddenly felt a little regretful. Looking at Zhao Jixi's expression, he might as well do it by himself. He usually doesn't look like this. Why is he like this all of a sudden? How could he know what Zhao Jixi was thinking at this moment? Zhao Jixi's mind was full of those lace bras and lace underwear. Sometimes women are more tempting when they don't take off their clothes than when they are naked. Especially underwear, which can arouse men's desires compared to swimsuits. Fortunately, I'm much better now. Oh, don't worry too much. I've masturbated. When I went out, I specially ate a few servings of the antipyretic soup sent by the Xianchao pharmacy downstairs. Don't worry, I'm excited now. I'm excited, do you understand? Zhao Jixi said in Huang Duling's ear with a slightly excited tone. Huang Duling didn't say anything more after hearing this, and just thought in his mind, excitement is more troublesome than nervousness. Then he walked forward a few steps. At this time, the two of them could already hear the music in the room, which was still a bit soothing jazz. The lights in the room had a little ambiguous color, coupled with the lazy jazz tone. It was really luxurious, just short of a one-sided sex. Led by a waiter wearing a pair of boxer shorts and a bow tie around his neck, the two entered the temporary dressing room, took off their coats, and the waiter helped to deposit them. Two typical muscular men appeared, and Huang Duling had the kind of big, fierce muscles, a bit close to the European and American race. Zhao Jixi's muscles used to be a bit like Huang Duling, but now they are a bit different from him. The muscles are more tightly together, although it feels a size smaller. But in terms of beauty and explosiveness, it is obviously more attractive than that kind of stupid big guy. Huang Duling looked at Zhao Jixi's muscles with envy. Although he envied them, it was not easy for him to train his muscles. If he were to learn from Zhao Jixi, he would be exhausted. Sure enough, there are some things that can't be envied. With a helpless sigh, Huang Duling followed Zhao Jixi and was led by the waiter. When they arrived in front of a door, the waiter bent down and waved to indicate that the two could go in, and he could only go here. Huang Duling pushed the door and walked in, and saw the hall. After turning a corner, Zhao Jixi came in front of him from behind. Suddenly, he looked around and saw the red, yellow, blue, green, and white lace underwear, which could not match the asterisk, but instead set off their figures. Wine pool and meat forest, right? My friends and I remember it, right? He muttered to himself. Zhao Jixi quickly suppressed his excitement. After all, he was a rich man, so how could he act like a country bumpkin? Although I was indeed born a country bumpkin, I won't be a country bumpkin forever. Well, although I should have been like that in my last life, in my next life, which is now, I can say for sure that I'm now tall, rich and handsome, and I'm still tall, rich and handsome, and I can kill a bunch of tall, rich and handsome men in seconds. Commonly known as the fighter among roosters, the small jeep among green toads, and the tall, rich and handsome among humans. The hall is decorated in a very typical European and American buffet style. However, the food and the style of the display are different, making people feel full of fashion at first glance. At this time, 2 or 3 people gathered together, wearing seductive underwear and a pair of big white rabbits. When they walked, in addition to the big waves, there were also waves in their hips. The 2 plump buttocks, after clamping a piece of underwear, outlined the middle. The thin little underwear could not cover their pride at all, but aroused people's desire even more. There were even more rising women, and from time to time they would reveal a few unruly hairs, floating outside like self-admiration. Zhao Jixi wanted to go over and say to her, "Miss, your hair has run out, how about I put it back for you?" Chapter 230 Hilton Sisters. There are also those who wear bikinis and expose their buttocks directly. The young and perky buttocks and the mature and charming plump buttocks are shining together. Someone even took a funny photo, which caused another wave of shock. Zhou Jixi wished that the hand was his own, because the palm was really well preserved. Or there were a few men wearing only a pair of underwear, holding a glass of red wine or champagne in their hands, standing together and talking about something. However, there were one or two people who were still a little excited and would sneak a peek at those big-breasted beauties. As expected by Zhou Jixi, the legendary melancholy orchid finger appeared here. Several legendary gay men or stylists. Typical thin bodies. Zhou Jixi vaguely felt that he could play the piano on them. Because the bones between the ribs were too thin, they were also exposed, which really made people look at him sideways. And following Zhou Jixi's gaze, these people also saw Zhou Jixi. Several people's eyes lit up in unison, looking at Zhou Jixi as if intoxicated, and occasionally chuckled. Licking their tongues and swallowing their saliva could no longer express their excitement at this moment. Only the rioting little brothers could express how excited they were at this moment. In just a moment, Zhou Jixi had goosebumps all over his body, and even the little brother who had just raised his head a little was completely wilted at this moment. Zhou Jixi, who found something wrong, quickly pulled Huang Duling over and made him stand in front of him without leaving a trace. He also shamelessly said in his ear, "Darling, it seems that you are quite charming. Look at those men and women, they are all drooling at your hot body." When Zhou Jixi said this, Huang Duling was a little proud at first, but when he glanced at those gay men, his body couldn't help but shudder. Damn, those gay guys actually want to hit on me. Don't they even look at what they look like? Jess, when we have time later, let's go teach them a lesson together. Well, okay, but what you said is a bit too much information. Have you ever slept with a man? Zhou Jixi felt that his plan to divert the trouble was very successful. However, he was shocked by Huang Duling's words. He had just escaped from the tiger's den. Has he entered the wolf's den again? Huang Duling laughed strangely and said in Zhou Jixi's ear, "These are all things that happened in college. While they are young, men and women should try it. But I just tried it, and later I didn't feel it was good, so I didn't play it anymore." After saying that, Huang Duling saw Zhou Jixi's strange expression. With a smile on his face, he said to him, "Don't worry, I'm not interested in you. I don't have a big appetite. The man before looked like a woman, so I could stand it. As for you, a muscle man, I don't want to be the bottom, unless you want to. KO, you want to be the bottom. Shit, the United States is to asterisk asterisk. The flowers under our red flag are now corroded beyond recognition." Zhou Jixi said to him with a look of shock. "Come on, Jess, I don't know you yet. Don't laugh so weirdly, it makes me feel a chill in my chrysanthemum." In the private chat room, a waitress wearing a bikini and a bow tie around her neck came to the two of them with a plate of several kinds of wine. Zhou Jixi first paid attention to the two half-covered big white rabbits, probably an E-cup. Europeans and Americans are always bigger. During the evaluation, Huang Duling found something wrong and immediately reminded him, and Zhou Jixi retracted his gaze. He politely took a glass of champagne and sipped it to cover up his slightly impolite behavior. Fortunately, it was only for a moment, and thanks to Huang Duling's quick reminder, no one saw Zhou Jixi's embarrassing behavior. "Thank you, I was a little bit out of control today," Zhou Jixi said softly to Huang Duling. Look at this, it's more attractive than a nude party. Sometimes women are more tempting to men when they are naked than when they are naked. Participate in more such parties in the future, or hold a few such parties yourself, and it will probably be much better," Huang Duling said indifferently. After thinking it over, he didn't feel embarrassed about his loss of control. "Haha, I think so. I think I should come to the party more often in the future." Zhou Jixi paused and nodded in agreement. "I have to say, the party thing, tut, is really good. I looked around and found that most of the rooms here are upstairs. If you find one you like, go upstairs and have some fun. Of course, if you don't mind, the bathroom is also a good choice. But I personally don't recommend getting a place, because sometimes there is a comparison, which makes people feel bad." Huang Duling whispered in Zhou Jixi's ear. Zhou Jixi smiled and said, haha, just because you can't do it doesn't mean I can't do it. I don't have anything else now, but I'm thick-skinned. It's no problem to grind a little bit. Just watch me perform. You'll die if you don't brag. Boring. Yes. While the two were chatting, Huang Darling's acquaintances also came over, 2 men and 3 women. Huang Darling also introduced them to Zhou Jixi, and several men also got to know Zhou Jixi. As for several women, they all felt a little bright when they saw Zhou Jixi. Say liar, Jess Zhou is a strong man with strong fighting ability. If you have time, why don't you give it a try? Huang Darling said to a woman who was licking her tongue, with a slightly frivolous and teasing tone, and a hint of depression. Darling, I remember you said the same thing at the beginning, but unfortunately, at this point, he took out his middle finger, gestured, and bent it in front of everyone. The facts prove that you are not as beautiful as you said. Seeing that Huang Darling still wanted to explain something, Celia was unlikely to give him a chance, and then said, you don't need to tell me how many bitches you slept with that day. These are really not worth mentioning compared to the facts I saw. Darling, I said a long time ago that you will definitely not have a good ending after fooling around with Celia, but it's a pity that you don't believe it. A friend of Huang Darling teased him. There is also this matter, beautiful lady, can you tell me about it? While the people around him were not paying attention, Zhou Jixi suddenly asked quietly to a woman next to him, who was wearing a black lace underwear with rhinestones, and a black lace underwear with lace on the lower body, and the center part was also inlaid with a few rhinestones and silver threads. He said it in her ear. Zhou Jixi couldn't help but have a little bit of a crush on her. Her tall figure, flowing long hair, bright eyes and white teeth were still very attractive, and Zhou Jixi was no exception. You can call me Nikki or Hilton, but do you really want to know? Nikki felt a chill in her ears, and a special smell came into her nose. She looked up and saw the man in front of her, the oriental man in front of her, or the boy. She was attracted by Zhou Jixi's strong physique at the first sight of him. She also found that the man in front of her seemed to be relatively young. Although she didn't care too much about a man's age, she suddenly became concerned about it at this moment. She felt a little strange, so she wanted to talk to him. Chapter 231 The Hilton sisters continued. Lazy jazz tunes, luxurious places, sexy outfits. A group of men and women in underwear sipped their wine glasses and teased each other. This was a gathering of young people and a paradise for playful people. Zhou Jixi took advantage of the fact that the others were not paying attention and hooked up with Nikki in a short while. The two scooped a glass of wine, walked to the sofa in the corner, sat together and chatted. Zhou Jixi felt much better at this moment. Fortunately, he was scared by those gay men, so his little brother didn't embarrass him in this place. Huang Darling glanced at Zhou Jixi from a distance and gave him a look, meaning that the brother is not bad. Zhou Jixi also returned a look, but he is just average. Huang Darling continued to chat with his friends thoughtfully. I adapted quickly. But if you want to pick up Nikki, you have to stand her superb sister. Oh, poor Jess. Huang Darling muttered with a sly smile at the corner of his mouth. What's wrong, darling? Are you scared by our Saria? How could that be? Do you think I would worry about her? That's funny. Zhou Jixi leaned on the sofa over there, gently shaking the red wine in his hand, and his bright eyes looked at Nikki from time to time. I have to say, Nikki, you are really beautiful. Especially your outfit, it's really beautiful. Advertisement, thank you for your compliment. But Jessie, do you think I would go on a date with a boy just for his compliments? Nikki chuckled and looked at Zhou Jixi with a bit of teasing. That may be. At this point, Zhou Jixi's face got closer and closer to hers. And this sentence was also said in her ear. Then he said in her ear like a breeze, I wonder if the beautiful Miss Nikki can give me a chance. There are many people who want this opportunity. Why should I give it to you? Nikki also said in Zhou Jixi's ear, but a little ambiguous, and gently sucked Zhou Jixi's earlobe. Feeling the softness and coolness beside his ears, Zhou Jixi couldn't help but shudder all over. His earlobe is one of the sensitive points. The soft lips and the wrinkles on the lips touched the earlobe, which made Zhou Jixi's little brother excited. Fortunately, he suppressed it quickly and looked at the gay men from time to time so that his little brother didn't make a fool of himself. In the distance, Paris Hilton, the sister of Nikki Hilton, was looking for her sister. She disappeared in half a day. I saw her just now, but I can't find her soon. Kim, have you seen Nikki? Paris turned to Kim Kardashian and said, I didn't see her. I was with Reggie just now. Ask Michelle and see if she knows. Kim Kardashian was wearing silver white underwear and small triangle panties. She also brought a hand ring made of silk scarf in her hand, and the half-covered bra squeezed her wheat-colored plumpness even more magnificent. It's that athlete again. Kim, didn't you break up with him? Why are you still with that bastard? He's a disgusting man. Bridget is much better than him, damn. Paris said a few words, and realized that she had said too much. Seeing Kim Kardashian's embarrassed face, she quickly apologized. I'm sorry, Kim. I was a little emotional just now. I'm really sorry. I hope you don't take it to heart. Advertisement, it's okay. Maybe what you said makes sense. I've been thinking about this issue recently. Forget it. I'll go get dressed first and talk to you when I come back. Although the words were beautiful, Paris was talking about her boyfriend. She was still a little unhappy and didn't want to talk to her anymore. Okay, I still have to go find Nikki. Paris nodded and said, then walked towards Michelle. Although she herself is sometimes a cheap woman, this time she really wants the best for her best friend, but unfortunately she doesn't appreciate it, so she doesn't care about it. Watching Michelle chatting with a female model, she teased the other person from time to time with her hands. She couldn't help but twitch her lips. Since she played the female pilot in Avatar recently, her career has taken another step forward, but there are more gossips. Even the bisexual love that was exposed before has been hyped recently. Now he is still hanging out with women. Paris doesn't know what to say now. Can I borrow Michelle? Paris walked over and said to the little model. She knew what these little guys were thinking. For these little bitches, as long as they can make headlines, these bitches will do anything. Of course, sometimes she will do this, so she knows these people better. The little model is a little thin, but still very attractive. Seeing Paris's advocacy eyes, she also took a step back and said, of course, I just saw an acquaintance. You guys chat slowly. After saying that, she twisted her buttocks and walked over, but her little hand deliberately hooked Michelle's buttocks. Michelle also patted her buttocks, then put away her smile, and said helplessly, Paris, you let my prey run away again. I want you to accompany me tonight. And I think you should find a strong man now to satisfy you once. I think you should wait until the storm is over before talking to those women. Otherwise, go find Lindsay Lohan. Maybe she will pity you. And Paris smiled at Michelle. Rodrigo said. He pinched her breasts a few times in a seductive way. Okay, Paris, you are not here to tell me this, right? Isn't it about time to start the event? What else do you want to find me for? Michelle slapped her mischievous hand away and said helplessly to Paris. Hilton. There is one thing. Have you seen Nikki? I don't know where this woman went. I can't find her, even if I want to. Advertisement, maybe she's in the room upstairs, or in the bathroom. Who knows? I haven't seen her for nearly 20 minutes. Haha. I guess she might have met a hunk and can't come back for the time being. Advertisement. Paris knew after hearing this that Michelle didn't see Nikki either. She patted her forehead and happened to glance at Celia. She suddenly remembered that she seemed to have seen Nikki with her just now. Although it was only a momentary impression, it would be better to go and ask. Now the time for their auction is almost up, and she is so anxious, but her sister doesn't know that she is fooling around with that bastard. She is so anxious now that she really wants to crush that man's balls. At this time, Zhou felt that his little brother couldn't help but feel cold and almost shivered. Quick update: pure text. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 132, Bang Bang Bang. The party was still filled with a luxurious atmosphere. Anxious Paris did not find her sister Nikki in the bathroom. Instead, she found Seria, who was hanging out with Huan Duling. When she walked into the bathroom, she could hear the sound of pa pa pa. And Saria shouted, "Darling, hurry up. Didn't you say you were great? Come on, let me see." Hoo hoo hoo. Saria, you'll see it soon. How about pa 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 pa? Now you know the power of my cannon, and then look at the power of my little boy. Huang darling shouted in the bathroom, panting. Wait, damn, I haven't had enough fun yet, wait a few more minutes. Seeing that the two were going to fight, Paris Hilton couldn't wait any longer. He walked over and knocked on the small compartment of the two people. "Although I'm a little embarrassed to disturb you now, can you tell me, have you seen Nikki?" The two people inside were startled by Paris's sudden attack, and Huang Duling suddenly couldn't control the feeling of his body. Because when Celia was frightened, her inner heart tightened a little, which immediately defeated Huang Duling. "Ah, Paris. Don't you know that it is easy to lose your virility like this? Fuck." Huang Duling felt a little embarrassed and roared in anger. "If you don't want me to tell Avril about your affairs, I advise you to be quiet. I have something to do with Celia now, although I'm a little embarrassed to disturb you. However, I have no choice. Of course, if you feel that you have problems in the future, I can help you with Viagra." Paris is also famous for her unforgiving words, and she certainly won't be polite to Huang Duling. You threatened me, fuck." Huang Duling was silent for a while. "Okay, you win." Then he whispered to Celia, "Do you know? Tell her if you know." What a disgusting woman. Celia gave him the middle finger, but both of them were not looking good at this time. She still stood in line with Huang Duling. Then he said to him, "I seem to see her leaving with your friend Joss now. She should be in the sofa in the right corner of the oil painting." Jess. It turned out to be his fault. Huang Duling thought in his mind. He didn't feel that Zhao Jix's skills were not bad. It didn't take long for him to get the younger sister of the famous Hilton sisters. Maybe she is still doing activities there. Then Huang Duling thought of his depression at being disturbed this time, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Cute Jess, don't blame your brother, we are all blessed. Now that we are in trouble, we should be the same. That's normal. Advertisement, hurry up, do you know? Paris shouted anxiously outside and slapped the door a few times, which immediately made Celia's fat buttocks against the door wave. "Fuck, this crazy woman is really troublesome." Advertisement, Huang Duling complained, and then told Paris what Celia said. "On the sofa to the right of the painting in the hall, with my friend Zhao Jixi. This is the last picture I saw. Go and see it yourself." Advertisement, after Paris got a satisfactory answer, he said, "Thank you, continue. But hurry up, the show will start outside soon." Advertisement, hurry up. Snow. Advertisement, at this time, Zhao Jixi was obviously chatting with this beauty, and the two sat closer as they chatted. And Nikki would tease Zhao Jixi from time to time, and she was still a little reluctant to let go of Zhao Jixi. If he were an experienced person, he would definitely take advantage of this, and invite her to a more private place, so that they could have a good chat about life. Although he was not that good, he was not bad. He looked at Nikki a little ambiguous, and kept teasing him with words and actions. In addition, the physical contact between the two became more and more frequent. Zhao Jixi had one hand on Nikki's buttocks. Through the silk underwear, he quickly tasted the soft and silky taste. He pinched it tentatively, and Nikki did not knock his bad hand away, but looked at him more confusedly. "Boy, you are such a bad boy." As he said that, he scooped up one of Zhao Jixi's fingers, looked at Zhao Jixi, and put his finger in her mouth, and sucked it gently. Suddenly, Zhao Jixi could feel the warmth and softness on his fingers, and the little brother who had calmed down was also a little bit about to riot. "Emptiness is color, color is emptiness. Women are tigers, women are tigers." He began to recite in his heart, hoping to suppress his brother. But even so, it still couldn't stop Nikki's charm. Nikki continued, "But I like you like this, especially the muscles on your body, your strong arms, your powerful legs, and this in the middle. As the saying goes, you should be able to endure it." Seeing her teasing like this and the obvious hint, Zhao Jixi couldn't understand the situation, so he just went to swing the knife. "Nikki, you are playing with fire. Haha, really, aren't you the same?" Nikki also said with a charming smile. "Yes, so I'm captured by your beauty." Zhou Jixi raised her chin with his hand and saw that she was looking into Niki's eyes. The two of them looked at each other, and Zhou Jixi's face was getting closer and closer. The two could almost feel each other's breath. Zhou Jixi blinked his eyes slightly, and seeing Niki was stunned for a moment, he kissed the red lips. Oh, it should be pink lips. His tongue knocked open her teeth and went straight in to hook up with her tongue. As expected, it was still so soft. Niki's mouth exuded a little rose fragrance. It should be that in addition to the smell of lipstick, she also sprayed a fresh breath mist, which also smelled of roses. For Zhou Jixi, this gave him a very good feeling. At least there was no bad breath. Niki was not to be outdone, and wrapped her hands around Zhou Jixi's neck. The tongue in her mouth was more active, and began to entangle Zhou Jixi's tongue. From time to time, she also put her into Zhou Jixi's mouth, and her lower body began to move a little, so that Zhou Jixi's hands could cover her buttocks more. Zhou Jixi saw this, and helped her knead her plump buttocks without hesitation. With the shape of her buttocks, you really can't tell that she is a girl born in 1983. At her current age, she is still as sexy as a girl, but she feels better than a girl. Zhou Jixi couldn't let go of it, and his mouth and hands were busy all the time. Every time Zhou Jixi pinched her hard, she could feel Niki's throat The hand around her neck became even tighter, and it was obvious that she felt very comfortable with this. Zhou Jixi followed her wishes, and while enjoying himself, he also pinched her plump buttocks hard from time to time. Update Fast Pure Text Chapter 233. Lust makes one lose one's mind. At this time, Zhou Jixi was so excited that he wanted to take up his gun and get on the horse, but reason told him that it was obviously not the right time. This was still in a public place. Although this sofa was relatively private, Zhou Jixi believed that, as long as he really did it with Niki, she would definitely make a sound. At that time, it would definitely attract people to look over, and that would not look good. So rationally, he only chose to have restricted contact with Niki, and tried not to do it here with real knives and guns. When Paris walked here, Niki had almost sat on Zhou Jixi's thighs, teasing little Jessie with her plump buttocks from time to time. Suddenly, Zhou Jixi felt like a dragon coming out of the abyss, but little Jessie was a little uncomfortable because of the pants. Zhou Jixi's own hand was still stroking Niki's buttocks. One hand had almost climbed to the top, and under the constant kneading, the mountain kept changing its shape. Zhou Jixi reached into the exposed part above and pinched the little cherry with 2 fingers. Niki pinched and teased from time to time, and almost pinched Zhou Jixi's back red. She also used her mouth to suck on his earlobe and licked Zhou Jixi's neck with her tongue from time to time. Baby, you are so attractive. Look at this, it's about to break out of the cage. Niki looked at Zhou Jixi and said to him with a seductive look on her face. And she didn't stop her work. She immediately reached in, held little Jixi with one hand, and scraped Zhou Jixi's balls with 2 fingers, making them tighter. That's because of your charm. Look, this little guy can't wait. Zhou Jixi said, and deliberately used force on 2 parts of Niki, expressing his meaning nakedly. It looks like it can't wait any longer. I have a room upstairs. Let's go upstairs, my lovely sweetheart. I think I can't help it anymore. I really want to eat you. Niki not only gestured to scare Jess, but also pretended to growl like a beast, as if she really wanted to eat JC. But this wild look made JC want to fuck her even more. Instead of rubbing against each other here and doing this uncomfortable foreplay, it was really a bit helpless. But his pain or discomfort came and went quickly, and Paris came at this time. Paris. Hilton just found the 2 people who were having an affair according to the information given by Salia. It happened to see her sister sitting on JC's lap, and JC was doing all kinds of things to Niki. She couldn't help but frown slightly. It would be fine at other times, but at this time, she had something to do. But Niki was still fooling around with this man. Well, although this oriental man looks good, it's a pity that he has something else to do now, so he can only disturb others for the time being. Looking at the 2 people who were looking at each other, Paris could only disturb them first. In fact, when Paris approached the 2 people, Zhou Jixi had already discovered her. Speaking of the name of this cheap sister-in-law in the previous life, Zhou Jixi still knew it. In the later period, He did a lot of things to get on the list, and he wanted to see how she would feel. Unfortunately, she didn't have any special feelings, so her eyes lit up. "Hey, Nikki, look at what my little baby is doing now." "Tut tut. You have a man and you have forgotten your sister's affairs." Paris walked over and said slowly. Nikki was having a good time at this time, and she was disturbed for no reason, which made her very angry. But when she heard Paris' voice, she remembered that she had indeed forgotten something important. Although she was unhappy, she still kissed Zhou and then said to her, "Paris, what's wrong, baby? Don't you want to be intimate with me anymore?" Zhou asked. "No, there is one more thing. I belong to you today." After saying this, she suddenly showed a strange smile and said to Zhou, "But baby, you have to promise me one thing." "What is it?" Then Nikki leaned over Zhou's ear and told him the matter, and then looked at him with open eyes, waiting for Zhou to reply. It won't be a problem. If you don't take me later, then I will be unlucky." "How can it be? Don't worry, you must belong to me. And this matter is also for the children in Africa." "Children in Africa? Africans have nothing to do with me." "Damn, it's true that there is a knife above the head of the word SE. Forget it for the sake of the beauty. Let's go for a while." After thinking for a while, Zhou said to Nikki, "Okay, I promise you." "Thank you, honey, kiss." Nikki hugged Zhou and kissed him hard, and the round peaks pressed against his chest, which made him enjoy it very much. "Okay, Nikki, it seems that you also want to do some charity for the children in Africa." Paris looked at JC on purpose, and then said to Nikki meaningfully, "But he is really worth your efforts. What a lovely sweetheart." Advertisement. Then Paris looked at JC with an ambiguous expression, waved her hand and said, "Okay, cute boy, you should let him rest now." Then she suddenly stretched out her hand and grabbed JC's balls with force. "Ah!" JC screamed. He didn't expect her to suddenly exert force and thought Paris was just pretending. He wanted to fight back, but thinking that she was just a woman and Nikki's sister, he withdrew his force. He was so irritated that he took 2 steps back and could only say, "Fuck. You fucked my sister in front of me." Although she was willing, it made me very upset, Paris said with a cold smile, and then he pulled Nikki away. Nikki gave Zhou an apologetic look, indicating that it was difficult to say anything to him at this moment. "What a crazy woman. She pinched me, and she also scratched me with her little finger. What does that mean? Damn, it's really annoying." Watching the 2 people go away, Zhou sat down and drank a whole glass of red wine to relieve the thirst after being on fire. With Paris's move, his little brother no longer raised the flag, so he didn't have to worry about this. But what Nikki said just now made him a little careful. If a rich woman suddenly appeared, what should he do? This has been played out in TV and movies. The hero always has a tragic ending, while the heroine sticks out her tongue apologetically, saying that she has done her best and has to put up with you. God bless you. Do you think I'm losing my mind because of lust? Update soon. Text only. Chapter 134. Let's get started. With the Hilton sisters leaving, Zhou sat alone on the sofa and drank to quench his thirst. A woman in the distance suddenly caught his eye, and after a careful look, she slowly walked towards him. This person was Michelle Rodriguez. A female model just ran away, and then another one came up. Unfortunately, some people are still clean, so her fantasy is out of the question. She was about to continue hunting, and suddenly saw the Hilton sisters in the corner. As for Zhou in the middle of the 2, he was more interested in him. His muscles, one by one, tempted her like sweet chocolate. He didn't want to care about anything, so he went up to take a look. Today she wore a decadent and seductive underwear. Although her breasts were a little different from Nikki's, they were not a small loss. Especially her healthy skin and masculine tough temperament, especially suitable for Zhou, who wanted to be gay, but didn't want to be. A man is a man, only if he has tried everything. This is what Huang Daoling told Zhou. But if he really wants to find a man to try it, he still feels a little bit unbearable. When he thinks of a man biting him, he shivers for no reason. Although he was a little moved when he watched the British gay drama Skins, in which the gay man was bitten by the pig's feet, it was a pity that this matter could not be acted on, just because he was moved. Real life and his inherent values would never let him do such a thing. And suddenly he saw Michelle, and he was a little moved. This woman is really suitable for having sex with her, especially if it is two-pronged. Not only can you have two inherent experiences, but you can also try the thoughts and feelings of gay people. In an instant, Zhou Jix's heart was moved. Hey, boy, do you want to have sex? Zhou Jixi suspected that he had masturbated too much in the hotel and now suddenly had auditory hallucinations. He immediately drank another glass of wine to see if there was something wrong with him. After drinking, he looked at Michelle carefully. Rodrigo said to her seriously, "What are you saying to me just now?" "Yes, don't you want to?" Michelle said and sat on the sofa, looking at Zhou Jixi with a seductive look. One hand touched his chest muscles again, and the other hand touched the position of little Jixi. Wow, it seems that this little beast is also starting to want to find its mother. Advertisement, Zhou Jixi wanted to say at this time. What's wrong with this world? Is it really going to be corrupted? But these are not important things. Of course, at this time, we must comfort the cute little Jixi. It has been uncomfortable for so long, so we have to find a warm, soft, moist and lubricated cave to let it have a good rest for a while. Of course, adding some lubricating oil to the cave is also possible. Obviously, it doesn't have too many requirements for these. It lives in whatever Zhou Jixi arranges. At this time, Zhou Jixi, as the boss of little Jixi, obviously will not rely solely on its wisdom. If it is, you can live here immediately. Zhou Jixi said to Michelle, "Of course, I think it needs someone to love this little guy now." Don't stop. Yes, I have to say that your hands are a little calloused, but this is very exciting. Advertisement, let's go upstairs. Advertisement, Michelle held little Jixi and said to Zhou Jixi, "It seems that this is the so-called taking care of both ends, and this sentence is really well deserved. If used well, it can resist thousands of troops and kill hundreds of millions of people in the form." Zhou Jixi was not polite at this time and touched her tight buttocks and firm breasts. Sure enough, this feel is really not covered. A girl with a sporty style and a muscular style is really exciting. Then he said to Michelle, "Okay, that piece, I can't wait now." Advertisement, after that, Michelle let go of Zhou Jixi. Of course, before letting go, she pinched little Jixi again to calm it down. Unfortunately, Zhou Jixi was so excited that she couldn't suppress him. When Michelle left her hand, he still held the flag high and looked up. Michelle was obviously more excited. She looked at Zhou Jixi again and said, "It seems that the plan has changed a bit. You follow me now." She started to walk forward. Zhou Jixi was not familiar with this place, so of course he followed her honestly. He even used his little Jessie to hit Michelle's buttocks. This feeling made him very happy physically and mentally. Michelle rolled her eyes and took Zhou Jixi to the ladies' bathroom. She went in first to take a look. When she found that there was no one, she asked Zhou Jixi to come in and quickly lock the door. When Zhou Jixi locked the door, he directly picked her up. Michelle also took advantage of the situation and attached herself to Zhou Jixi like a koala. The two of them were definitely the symbol of fucking at this time. The two hungry mouths instantly closed together, and the tongues in their mouths also intertwined. Michelle was still grinding Zhou Jixi's little brother with her hips, and Zhou Jixi's hands behind her also took advantage of the situation to open her bra. Michelle reached out and scooped off the bra on her chest, and Zhou Jixi immediately felt two small hard points. They pressed against his chest, and Michelle hugged him tighter. From time to time, he moved his body up and down, using Zhou Jixi's skin to open his big white rabbit to increase the stimulation. At this moment, Zhou Jixi had already grabbed Michelle's hips, and when he put his hand into his pants, he found that it was already wet. "Come down and take it off." After a the two of them immediately took off the last layer of protection. Zhou Jixi reached his hand to her private part and touched it. After determining the position, he lifted one of her feet with his hand. Michelle held his neck with one hand to keep his balance, and the other hand was on top of little Jixi, pulling her to his position. First, wash little Jess's face, rub it outside the door for a few times, and when it feels about right, aim at the hole. After Zhou Jixi exerts force on his waist, little Jessie goes in smoothly. At once, both of them muffled and immediately filled each other's emptiness. Michelle really deserves the title of Hollywood tough girl, and the female sex of the party is full of strength. As soon as Zhou Jixi entered, he could feel her squirming vigorously. The constant suction came from little Jessie, which made Zhou Jixi not want to move for the time being, so he let Michelle do the opening exercise first. And he was preparing to exert force in the second half, so for a while, he could only hear Michelle's panting, and Zhou Jixi just responded comfortably with HMM. When she was a little tired, Zhou Jixi let Michelle sit on the wash basin, and the two started fighting again with face-to-face body odor. Then, Zhou Jixi, who was not satisfied, turned Michelle over again, and started from the back. He kept hitting her buttocks, experiencing this different kind of sex, and Zhou Jixi would slap them from time to time, or knead them with his hands. In the end, both of them fought to the point of excitement, but Michelle was the first to lose. This also made Zhou Jixi very proud. Fast update Pure Text Chapter 235 Auction. After Zhou Jixi and Michelle had sex in the bathroom, they immediately felt refreshed, and almost vented their anger. High speed update: the two cleaned up in the bathroom, to avoid a strange smell, when they went out. Zhou Jixi was almost done with his own work, so he began to look at Michelle. It was a pity to say that he had just entered a hole. But thinking of what he promised Nikki, it was obvious that he couldn't continue now. He walked over to Michelle and touched and pinched her for a long time, and then looked at her teasingly and said, "I didn't expect you to be a little head. What a cute guy." Michelle slapped Zhou Jixi's mischievous hand. "I didn't expect you to have a big sausage, and don't call me a little head anymore. I hate this name." Advertisement: okay, no problem, but let me see this cute little thing again. Come to daddy. Advertisement: Zhou Jixi pinched her breasts and began to act out a situational drama. Then the two fooled around for a while, left the bathroom and walked outside. At this time, the scene outside was also very lively. This group of women actually started a charity auction for men. Several women deliberately sent the men they brought to the auction table, and then asked the people who liked him to start bidding for him. As long as they bought him, they would have the right to use this man for 2 hours. As for how to use these 2 hours, it depends on personal preference. This is also a matter of personal opinion. If you really want to use it as a massager, as long as the man is not a problem, the two of you can, of course. As for the consequences of this, of course you are responsible for yourself. Zhou Jixi just promised Nikki that he would go on stage at that time, and Nikki would take a picture of him. What he was worried about was that, if something unexpected happened, wouldn't it be bad luck? There are many things that cheat fathers or sons these days. At this time, Paris was standing on the stage as the auctioneer. At this time, she was wearing a glove inlaid with rhinestones, and holding an auction hammer in one hand. And standing next to her was her sister, Nikki. She was holding a small piece of paper, and introducing the advantages of the man on her right to everyone. But the writing on it was a little funny. Not only did the people in the audience laugh, but even Nikki on the stage laughed and read intermittently. Zhou Jixi knew the man standing next to her. Huang Darling had introduced them to each other when they came in just now, and Zhou Jixi had also chatted with him for a few words, but she didn't expect her female companion to write about him so funny. He couldn't help laughing at this, and soon Nikki also saw Zhou Jixi. She squinted and blinked at Zhou Jixi, and Zhou Jixi also smiled and responded to Nikki. Several people in the audience started with $1 and gradually shouted to $500, and then the market continued to rise, especially when a woman with average looks offered $900. Zhou Jixi keenly saw that the corner of the man's mouth twitched, and sweat stains could be seen on his forehead. Zhou Jixi couldn't help but feel very worried about his own way out at this time. But the man on the stage was lucky. At least his girlfriend didn't abandon him. In the end, she paid $3,010 and got him back. The man never thought about how his girlfriend attracted him. The two hugged and kissed like others, and then everyone gave applause at the right time. After a while, another man appeared on the stage, and this man surprised Jay Chou. He was Huang Darling. Since Jay Chou hooked up with Nikki Hilton, he hadn't seen Huang Darling. When he saw him on the stage, Jay Chou didn't know that woman had hooked him up. "This is Mr. Muscle Man, dedicated by our Miss Saria. She offered 1 cent for his 2-hour use. He Nikki smiled first, patted her perky chest, and the men in the audience swallowed their saliva. She continued, Miss Saria wrote a manual for use. I'll read it out here and share it with you. Huang Darling was a little panicked. He knew that this woman would not write anything good. Just now, because of Paris, Huang Darling lost to Saria again, so this time he had to come to the auction table as she said. He suddenly burst out with amazing speed and rushed over to snatch the card from Nikki's hand. He looked at it and found that there was nothing good written on it. There was a sentence like Mr. Fast and Mr. Weak. He was furious, but he couldn't say it in public. It would be so embarrassing. At that time, it would be like yellow mud falling out of the crotch. It would be shit if it wasn't shit. And it would also confirm what Saria said. The Virgin Mary can testify that he had an accident twice when he met this woman, and he happened to be defeated by Saria both times. He was also very wronged. An inexplicable resentment lingered in his heart for a while. There was no way around it, so he simply picked up the small cardboard slightly and finally folded it quickly into a small bean shape. Then he threw it up like throwing a peanut, opened his mouth below to find the right position, and immediately took it into his mouth correctly. Immediately, the people below praised his quick wit and his ability to resolve embarrassment in a chic manner. Some men whistled, and even some women whistled. Zhao Jixi was no exception, and whistled at the loudest sound, but it was also this that attracted many men and women to look over. Especially those gay men. They looked at Zhao Jixi with shining eyes. Huang Darling greeted Zhao Jixi on the stage, which immediately moved Zhao Jixi away from the sight of several gay men. He smiled at Huang Darling and gave him a thumbs up with his right hand. He called out $100 first. It was considered the first offer, and the men and women who wanted to participate in the game later also began to bid separately. However, Zhao Jixi didn't know that it was his support for his friend just now that got him into a little trouble. When several gays heard Jay Chou start bidding against men, they immediately got excited. Is it true that they have the same hobbies as us? And men can also bid. The guys behind him were in trouble. In addition to dealing with women, they even had to be on guard against men. What is this? In the end, Huang Darling did not embarrass himself. He bought the picture for $5,900 to a pretty Asian girl. Huang Darling happily went down to hug the girl and looked at Celia in a demonstrative manner. Celia couldn't help but give him a middle finger and made the fuck sound with her mouth. Update Fast Pure Text Chapter 239 Komodo Dragon. The one that Zhao Jixi just saw was written as Bengal monitor lizard. He suddenly realized that it was a monitor lizard. No wonder it was sold here. The introduction said, this thing has a strong ability to survive from deserts to tropical rainforests, seasonal snowy winters, mountainous areas, etc. It can survive. This is a subspecies from western Bangladesh. Zhao Jixi just skipped through the following introductions. Zhao Jixi definitely didn't plan to raise this thing. It was too ugly. It looks really ugly. Nikki also said besides Zhao Jixi. Indeed, it's just like what I thought. Zhao Jixi also said something in agreement. Nikki's idea was really the same as his. He kissed Nikki intimately. To others, it seemed that the two of them had a very good relationship. Only they themselves knew that the two had only known each other for a few hours. Then Zhao Jixi looked to the side again. There was a man in a white coat next to him. Zhao Jixi took Nikki to look at the brand name, Komodo Dragon. Zhao Jixi looked at the man in the white coat, and the man explained to the two of them, this kind of monitor lizard is much more precious than the monitor lizards in Bangladesh and other monitor lizards. It turns out that it is more valuable. No wonder there is a special person to explain it. Zhao Jixi looked at him, and then looked at the small lizards. Of course, they were not small. Zhao Jixi could still see their sharp teeth and long tongues. The man in the white coat paused for a moment, and seeing that Zhao Jixi and the others were a little interested, he began to say, this thing is raised as a national treasure by the Indonesian country. With the hunting of humans, natural disasters and other reasons, and the fact that adult monitor lizards will feed on their cubs, the number of these guys is getting smaller and smaller. We got a lot of these monitor lizard cubs, as well as some large adult monitor lizards. If you are interested, you can also take some pictures back later. This thing doesn't look very good. Zhao Jixi muttered, but as the man in the white coat continued to explain, Zhao Jixi was a little interested again. These monitor lizards can grow up to 3 meters in length, almost close to small dinosaurs. Monitor lizards run very fast, and their tails are very powerful. The tail whip at the end of their thick tails can sweep the enemy. The claws can easily tear the prey into pieces. The monitor lizard's sharp tongue can collect odor particles like a snake, and it can almost sense the smell of food within 1,000 meters. Is that so? Zhao Jixi was a little tempted. This thing seems to be very powerful when raised. As for whether it is obedient or not, he never worries about it. Put it in the space for a few days. Let the little demons educate it inside, and use the space to let it recognize itself as its master. Add the water of vitality to make it smarter. I believe this monitor lizard will definitely be obedient. The more Zhao Jixi thought about it, the more it made sense. Although this thing looks a little ugly, it has never been beautiful. But according to his aesthetic point of view, it can also be explained as growing very powerful. If a few of these are placed at the villa to guard the door, it will definitely be a disaster. In terms of living habits, those crocodiles are still a little different from the Komodo dragons. However, we can raise some crocodiles in the future. There are no treasures in the swamps on the farm. Seeing the lush grass on the farm, many of those little creatures have also immigrated here, and now they are about to flood. We need to raise a few crocodiles in the future to control the number of these animals. Jess, don't look at this. This laundry is really ugly. Nikki urged Zhao Jixi. She was not very interested in this thing with skin that looked a bit like a snake. Although she would not be disgusted with snakeskin products or this more expensive Komodo dragon skin. But that is also a product after killing and processing them. Now this thing will only make her feel uncomfortable. After hearing this, Zhao Jixi had to look at something else first. Women sometimes need special care without affecting their mood. Okay, dear, I'll listen to you. Let's go and see if there are any other fun little guys. Zhao Jixi said to Nikki intimately. After that, he pulled her to the side, where Zhao Jixi saw another strange species. He guaranteed that he definitely didn't know about this thing. He only heard about the duck-billed fire dragon beast when he watched cartoons when he was a child. He didn't expect that there were actually a few animals with duck beaks here. This is really a spectacle. Nikki, look, these little guys look very strange. Very much like an animal version of a duck. Zhao Jixi said to Nikki excitedly, and then he saw Nikki pointing at an introduction board and looking at him. Platypus. Sure enough, this name is very appropriate. Then he said to Nikki awkwardly, so you have already seen it? I just noticed it. The little treasures here are really strange. I can't help but buy one to take home. She smiled and looked at Zhao Jixi. Seeing that Zhao Jixi wanted to show that he could give it to her, she shook her head and said, it's a pity that I don't have time to take care of them. I'd better keep a puppy. Really? Zhao Jixi asked. Yes, although I like this, I will never offer my swimming pool or my bathtub for these little guys to swim. Nikki said to Zhao Jixi affirmatively. Zhao Jixi saw her affirmative attitude and knew that what Nikki said was true. Living in the city, she was indeed not suitable for raising this, so Zhao Jixi did not dwell on it anymore. The little guys inside were very fleshy, their limbs were short and thick, and there were webbed feet between the 5 toes, especially the webbed feet of the forelimbs were very developed, and when Zhao Jixi saw it, it had closed its webbed feet. What particularly attracted Zhao Jixi was its big duck beak, although it looked a bit like a duck beak. But if you look closely, you will find that its beak is not like the hard keratinous substance of a duck or bird. It is a bit soft. Zhao Jixi saw that the beak could be bent, and there were no teeth in the mouth. This cute look made Zhao Jixi want to hug it now. At this time, it was the white coat just now, because he was the closest to this area, and this person came over. Do you two need help? Zhao Jixi and Nikki looked at each other and said in unison, I think we need it now. After saying that, seeing how well they were doing, they clapped their hands and smiled in unison. Update Fast Pure Text Chapter 236 Large Animals. Time passed quickly, and the subsequent plot was not what Zhao Jixi thought, except that a few gays made things difficult for him. Things developed very smoothly, and the final result was still photographed by Nikki. In the evening, Zhou Jixi and Nikki went back to the hotel first and sat down to finish the unfinished business. He took her to the restaurant to eat something and waited for Huang Duling. By the way, this guy is still romantic now. But it was because of this that he was able to have a romantic candlelight dinner with Nikki. The two of them drank some coffee together and talked about fashion, music, etc. Although this is a rich girl, she is still the kind of person who doesn't worry about food and drink by relying on the foundation. But to be honest, Nikki still has some real talents and knowledge. Zhou Jixi also relied on reading a lot of books to barely cope with the chat, and Nikki's knowledge was earned through his own efforts. The two chatted well, and Nikki also had a good impression of Zhou Jixi. Although he didn't know what this person did, he looked at his conversation and dress. It should be good. As a woman, how could she not see the value of a watch on Jay Chou's hand? In the evening, Huang Darling came to Jay Chou with a female companion. But it was obviously not the woman just now. Jay Chou did not say anything about it. After all, everyone was at the scene, so it was not easy to say this. Hey, Jess, Nikki, you are here too. Huang Darling greeted the two of them and introduced the woman. By the way, Jay Chou did not care too much. Anyway, she was a woman who looked like a supporting role. Maybe she would die someday. She was really not worth paying attention to. Nikki's idea was the same as Jay Chou's. The two looked at each other tacitly and laughed at each other. In Huang Darling's puzzled look, Jay Chou directly put his arm around his shoulders and took him out. Jay Chou did not have a car in San Francisco, so he took Nikki's sports car. Huang Darling's was also a beige Ferrari sports car. With the roar, the two cars started to move. Zhou Jixi told Nikki to follow behind Huang Darling. Jessie, what are we going to do now? Nikki asked while driving. She had wanted to go to a bar just now, but Zhou Jixi said that she had something to do in the evening, so she didn't want to go. Huang Darling just said that he could bring a female companion, so Zhou Jixi invited Nikki. Nikki agreed without thinking, but she still didn't know what she was going to do, so she looked at Zhou Jixi with doubts. I called and heard that there is a large animal auction. I'm a little interested in this, so I want to go and see it. Zhou Jixi said to Nikki. Large animal auction? This seems to be something that a bunch of farmers and manor owners like. Those rich people like to raise some large animals in their own territories for viewing. Nikki has heard of this, so she can say a thing or two. After all, it is really inconvenient to raise these things in the city, and sometimes it will attract complaints from neighbors, which is really annoying. However, those wealthy people who bought farms, ranches, manors, etc. for vacation, of course, had places to raise these. Where there is demand, there is supply, and a group of people who intend to make this money came into being, and this auction or trade fair is a small part of this supply chain. Jess, are you planning to buy some to keep at home? After thinking for a while, Nikki felt that Jay Chou definitely didn't go there for a reason. Seeing his excited look, it was clear that he was going to buy something. Well, let's see if there are any I like. I plan to buy some back as pets. Don't you think those beasts are cool? Jay Chou nodded in response, and then said what he thought. Nikki pondered for a moment. The beasts are indeed good, but she thought about cleaning their fesses, or preventing them from accidentally hurting people and complaints from neighbors. This is not something that can be solved with a word of maybe. Although she thought so in her mind, she obviously would not say this to hit Jay Chou now. Speaking of which, if today's dinner is considered a date, then they are just a couple who have just dated once, and they are not really close, even if they went to bed. They are just sex buddies, or they can leave at night, or in the morning. Haha. It's a good idea, as long as you like it. Nikki smiled and concealed a trace of embarrassment. Indeed, I think so too, but I hope there are good guys. Nikki's car followed Huang Darling to the suburbs of San Francisco. After Huang Darling was checked, they entered a private farm, or a private holiday farm. Anyway, the meaning is similar. When Zhou Jixi let Nikki in, there were already more than 10 people inside. What was surprising was that Zhou Jixi actually saw acquaintances, one of whom was a friend he met with Mark Zuckerberg. There were also a few people who met in the place by chance, and Zhou Jixi took Nikki to chat with them and reminisce about the past. Huang Darling also walked over. He knew one of the two men. After all, he was a local boss in San Francisco and a party animal. It was no surprise that he knew many people. After the two exchanged a few pleasantries and introduced each other, they became familiar with each other and formed a small circle to chat. Jess, you have made a lot of money recently. Apple stock is now almost $190. You have a good eye. Hicks said to Jay Chow with a pretended jealous look. The fact that Jay Chow owns a lot of Apple stocks is also known to the senior executives of Facebook. However, they are not too sure about the exact number. It is certain that there are hundreds of thousands of shares. Even if it is 200,000 or 300,000, it is almost 10 million US dollars. And it has only been a short time, so it is understandable that the two of them are jealous. Haha. Thanks to Steve Jobs' good management, the stock value has increased a lot. Although he already knew the final result, Zhou Jixi still felt very comfortable watching his money grow little by little, and he couldn't help but feel a little proud at this time. I think the goddess of luck is favoring you. Recently, even the market value of Facebook has increased a lot. Jess, the money you invested has started to grow again after a short time. Yes, recently even the mobile game you developed has been very popular. Now it is almost a must-have game for installation. Jess, are you going to treat your old friend to a drink? Chapter 237 Thoughts. Zhou Yao, I want to thank everyone who gave me rewards. Thank you so much. It's still very good to be recognized by others. Nikki was a little shocked. According to her, it was normal for Zhou Jixi to have some money. However, in her opinion, Zhou Jixi might be like herself, living on a family fund. Or he has a rich father, a second generation rich man like Huang Duling, or he inherited a considerable inheritance. But from what these people said, it seems that Zhou Jixi has a good investment vision. The recent investments in internet technology companies are all companies with limited current status. Although he did not enter the market at the best time, his timing was not bad. Now people on Wall Street estimate that Apple and Facebook have the possibility of further growth, and their expectations for the future are not low. Is Watermelon Swordsman developed by your game company? Nikki asked Zhou Jixi. Other questions are not suitable for asking now. This game is very suitable for the familiarity between the two to talk about this topic. Yes, this is the game I came up with. Although I'm not in charge of the company's operations now, I'm still the creative director. Zhou Jixi said this with a little pride, and unceremoniously regarded the plagiarism as his own work. According to his thinking, who would know that he was plagiarizing anyway? Then he asked Nikki knowingly, have you played this game? Indeed, this game is very interesting. I like it very much. I'm ranked 200th in the ranking list. Nikki said to Zhou Jixi with a smile. He was a little proud when he said this. In addition to being proud of his achievements, he also wanted to prove that he really played the game, and it was not deliberately trying to compliment Zhou Jixi. 200th. Oh, Nikki, you are still very good, but the first place is still mine. Haha. Oh my god, you are that ZJX. Yes. After the two chatted for a few words, a few more people came over, and Zhou Jixi certainly welcomed them. He was not like the protagonist in the novel, who didn't like the hustle and bustle. He was quite interested in these social activities. Zhou Jixi yearned for the state of having friends all over the world. Therefore, he felt that it would be good for him to know more people in this place. After all, it is not a bad thing to have more connections. Besides, no matter whether it is black or white, it may be useful in the future. People living in this world need to make friends with all kinds of people. People who pretend to be noble can often only live in their own world. A wonderful life cannot be successful in their own world. Of course, Zhou Jixi is an exception. His own world is different from others. And Nikki was also very interested in this. She has been attending high society parties since she was a child, so she is very decent in dealing with such things. It also indirectly helped Zhou Jixi. When the two chatted with others together, they complimented each other. The people around them also had a very good impression of them. There were some topics that JC didn't know how to talk about, but Nikki knew some of them. But even so, she could take care of JC and take good care of him. This also made JC have a little view of the ages of the two for the first time. JC was definitely much older than Nikki in his previous life, but when he came back in this life, JC felt that he was just a young man in his 20s. In his previous life, He was immersed in his own world. People's growth is not based on age or something, but on life experience, and experience is linked to age, but age is not linked to experience. Although it's a bit messy, it's very simple to talk about it. Only by rolling around in this society and experiencing more life can people grow and understand what life is. Although JC had also made some efforts outside in his previous life, he was the kind of person who had enough food at home, so he was not panicked. When he encountered something unpleasant, he would just throw away the burden and quit. When he left, he could still say, "I don't want to serve you anymore." This is also related to the fact that Zhou's mother spoiled him since he was a child. People of his generation, like the teacher said, are little emperors who are the only daughters in the family. He is even more amazing. He is the only male in the family. He doesn't have to do anything. He lives a life of having everything provided for him. It was only after a few years of hanging around outside that he became more restrained. Unfortunately, he can't hang around outside for long. Thinking that his family can still collect rent to make a living, he doesn't want to make a living outside. So he completely became a homebody. He only talked a few words in front of the computer, watched movies, and even played few games, and did some asterisk. His social circle was pitifully small, and he was under the eyes of his parents. It was almost like he stopped growing, and he was going backwards. His life from then on was almost the same. If he could grow up to be a mature and stable person, no one would believe it. Even though his rebirth in this life gave him a great shock, he consciously corrected some of it, but the gap was revealed when compared. Nikki doesn't look much older than him, but in fact, she is a few years older than JC Zhou. In addition, the family education she received since childhood and the wide social circle she has been in have also honed her up a lot. Although she used to be a person with a temper, she has changed a lot after experiencing more. Compared with JC Zhou, she is definitely much better. The scope of chatting with these people is very wide, including food, clothing, housing, transportation, fashion, investment and other things, but it is always inseparable from money. JC Zhou also met one or two people who were easy to talk to. Everyone left contact information with each other, and when they were free, they could make an appointment to do something together. As for what to do, we will talk about it when the time comes. The time for chatting passed quickly, and the time for the cocktail party in the living room was almost over. Now it's time to have a meal, which is the purpose of everyone's visit this time, to buy some pets that are not often seen. Because everyone knows that these things cannot be bought and sold openly through normal channels, and can only be supplied through special channels. As for the question of whether it is legal or not, no one will mention it. As long as they make it clear that they don't know, then they don't know. Even if something goes wrong later, he will be a victim, and the probability of this happening is obviously very small. Once you buy it, the lawyer will help you to improve the legality of these things through various channels. Whether it is for experimental research or injury rescue, the group of vampires will definitely make them legal in the United States. This is why Zhou Jixi asked the lawyer Harvey again after Huang Duling's explanation, so that he could come here to buy with peace of mind. As for whether it is an endangered animal, it is really none of our business. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 238 Enter. At this time, there were about 20 to 30 people here, and only about 10 of them were actually here to buy things. Most of the others were friends or female companions. These people were also guaranteed by the inviters, so they didn't have to worry about safety. Darling, do you know what they have? Zhou Jixi walked with the crowd and asked Huang Darling as he walked. I don't know too much, but I know there are animals shipped back from Africa, as well as from Indonesia, Malaysia and other regions. I don't know the details, but just look at them. If you want anything, you can also order from them, but the price will be higher. Huang Darling said. Oh, I see. Zhou Jixi said thoughtfully. In fact, it's just smuggling and poaching. and this is a place where things are laundered, but the price of the items is much more expensive than buying them directly from those people. After all, it costs money to launder things. It's actually like that. Now these people register some scientific research institutions, apply to go to those countries for research, and then apply for restocking permission from the local countries under the pretext of research or protection. Then they buy directly from those poachers, and then blatantly ship them back to the United States, and finally sell them secretly all over the country. Huang Darling smiled and explained again. Even so, but it's so blatant. How could it be? Just like the people here today will not casually disclose information. I'm also an old member of the club, only qualified to receive such information. How can people outside the circle know this? So the club also does this business? How could it be? If the club wants to make money from this, then it won't open. They just provide news that members are interested in. As for whether you go or not, that's your business. Huang Darling continued. Anyway, there is no problem. If you don't mind paying a little membership fee every year, you can also apply. As your introducer, I will guarantee you for the 2 people just now. There is no problem for you to join the club quickly, and our club also has a large number of Chinese. Oh. Zhao Jixi smiled and pondered for a while. It sounds good, but what are the rules and regulations? Of course, although we are a small club, we are also good in some aspects. As for the rules and regulations, except for some confidentiality regulations, there are no special requirements for other things. Of course, if you join our club, you can join other clubs without any problem. These are all very free, but you have to pay membership fees every year. If you don't pay for 2 consecutive years, you will be kicked out directly. Huang Darling said to Zhao Jixi. It sounds similar to some chamber of commerce models in the Celestial Empire, and it is a bit similar to the so-called clubs. Zhao Jixi thought about it, and felt that it was pretty good, so he agreed to Huang Darling, and filled out an application form another day, and gave it to him. At this time, everyone walked along a small path, and came to the outside of a large warehouse. The surrounding grass was also equipped with high brightness street lights. After walking for a while, they stopped outside the warehouse door. Several muscular men opened the warehouse door, and Zhao Jixi and others also saw the scene. It was not as messy as he had imagined before. What appeared in front of Zhao Jixi was a clean and neat internal layout. There was a faint warmth inside, and a smell of hay came out from inside. Zhao Jixi could also see a large and small incubator, but he couldn't see what was inside. Then several men in white coats came out and greeted a man in a suit with white gloves. After the 2 whispered a few words, the man in the suit stood up with a smile on his face. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to us. We Research Institute would like to express our gratitude for your kindness. Then he said some nonsense, but Zhao Jixi was too lazy to pay attention. Anyway, even if he spoke now, he would also exploit legal loopholes. Zhao Jixi was in the corner of this warehouse, and saw that this was a certain research institute. Although it was not obvious, he believed that there must be such a thing. The Americans are so professional, but I wonder if they can get pandas with such professionalism. Zhao Jixi thought about it, and gave up the idea. It seems that there are a number of pandas in China. It's very expensive to raise them. It doesn't matter if it's in this warehouse or a research institute. Anyway, it's more like a trading market for Zhao Jixi. After listening to this person's nagging, although he didn't say anything nagging at all, he was very humorous. This is what Nikki said, but Zhao Jixi just thinks this person is a bit nagging, let alone doing things. Damn, he looks like a pretty boy, but he's actually more handsome than me. Isn't he asking for trouble? Especially this kid deliberately looked at Zhao Jixi, although he was actually looking at Huang Darling, and this was also the boss's order, saying that this is a rich guy. But who asked Nikki to stand next to him, and Nikki also spoke for this kid, which made Zhao Jixi a little jealous. Is my lovely boy angry? Look at his face. Tut tut. Nikki held one of Zhao Jixi's hands, and touched Zhao Jixi's face with the other hand. How could that be? I just feel that this boy is a little too attentive. Zhao Jixi quickly covered up. Although he also likes to fool around, this does not mean that he will not be jealous. As the saying goes, being jealous can prevent colds. What a cute guy. Nikki looked at Zhou Jixi's back and said in a low voice with a smile. She has been married before and she has seen mature and stable men. But this time she felt that Zhou Jixi was actually quite good, although he was a bit like a bad boy who was spoiled by his mother. But this is very attractive to her. Although she doesn't know how long this feeling will last, since she feels very enjoyable now, she will enjoy it for a while. Sometimes it is also an experience to raise a boyfriend as a son. And this man seems to be quite capable, but his temper is sometimes a bit childish. When Zhou Jixi walked in, he saw that there were many incubators in a certain area, which contained animal cubs that were a few months old or had just been born. Although Zhou Jixi couldn't tell what they were, fortunately, they were also professional and wrote what they were on the outside. This way, everyone could understand it after seeing it. Chapter 240 Platypus. The white coat also smiled at this, looked at the two people with a bit of blessing and said, "This is a strange mammal living in Australia, the platypus. Haha. I say it is strange, because it does not exist on the earth. This kind of animal looks more strange than the platypus. And no other animal has caused as many academic disputes as the platypus. Wow, it sounds magical, a bit like when my father told us stories about magicians at home, when I was a child." After listening, Nikki whispered in Zhou Jixi's ear, why do I feel that he is a bit like a weirdo?" Zhou Jixi was silent for a while and whispered to Nikki. The white coat was obviously immersed in the storytelling stage, and it seemed that a few more people came this time. The guy got even more excited as he spoke. More than 100 years ago, scientists didn't believe in the existence of the platypus because it looked really weird, like a reptile, a mammal, and a bird. When he said this, the people watching also laughed softly, thinking it made sense, which satisfied his expectations of his humor, so he spoke even more excitedly. "You see, the flat mouth of the platypus is very similar to the mouth of a duck. But the difference is that the mouth of the platypus has nerves that transmit touch, can bend, and is very sensitive to vibrations, unlike the hard keratin of the bird's beak." When he said this, the white coat pointed to the mouth of the little platypus and said, "A few people saw the mouth of the little thing move, as if it was gasping for air, and it was slightly bent, and they immediately said oh as if they understood. Look here." Pointing to the eyes of the platypus, he said, "Its small and bright eyes are high on its head, so it can see the two banks clearly and scan the sky. The two grooves extending backwards from the eyes are its ears. The platypus ears don't have ear shells, which can help it adapt to life in the water. Also, outside the fat body of the platypus, they are covered with a layer of dense, brown shiny hair. This hair is impermeable when entering the water, and will not be wetted by water when out of the water. The large tail behind its body is flat and powerful, acting as a rudder, which can help it swim quickly underwater. When on land, it will close its webbed feet. Once it enters the water, it will spread out its thick webbed feet, like several large jaws. The male platypus also has a curved venom spur on its hind leg, which is very similar to the fangs of a viper, and contains deadly venom. You should be careful about this, and it's best to ask our professionals to help deal with it when the time comes." After listening to his introduction, Zhou Jixi and others became more and more interested in this thing. He has now made up his mind to buy a few to take home and raise. He had never seen this little thing in his previous life. Now that he has the opportunity to buy it back, he certainly doesn't want to miss this opportunity. Then Huang Duling also came over and whispered a few words to Zhou Jixi. Zhou Jixi told Nikki to let her look at it for a while he went inside to take a look. There are many large animals inside, and the air may not smell good, so he didn't ask her to go with him. Nikki felt very touched by Zhou Jixi's thoughtfulness. Although this man sometimes has a childish temper, he sometimes makes people feel his kindness. He is really a contradictory person. After kissing Zhou Jixi affectionately, he let him go. There were also a few men going together. The further they went, the more mature animals they could see. Along the way, Zhou Jixi saw several cages with gorillas, such as chimpanzees or orangutans, and even gorillas like Saiyan in Zhou Jixi's home. Going forward, Zhou Jixi also saw various rare animals and some monkeys, such as the golden bamboo lemur, but this thing is really not very good. There is another kind that Zhaojixi can understand, the golden blackleaf monkey, which looks very good, but it's a pity that Zhaojixi's family doesn't plan to keep monkeys for the time being. Walking over, you can also see a kind of monkey that looks a bit like the legendary mandrill in the Celestial Empire, also called the baboon. Zhaojixi took a special look. This guy has a horse face and is a bit thin. To be honest, this guy doesn't look very good. Although Zhaojixi also thinks that it seems to be too vulgar to look at the external beauty. But sometimes you really have to look at it when raising a pet. If you want to look more terrifying, then at least you have to be more powerful. In this day and age, as long as you are powerful, other things can be ignored. Unfortunately, this guy doesn't look powerful enough, and he will call who, stupidly. Then walking in, Zhaojixi didn't see the usual lions and tigers. Zhaojixi saw quite a few strange things. But after a little thought, he figured out that most of what he sold were rare species, which were rare in the world and difficult to get. On the contrary, it was much easier to get fierce beasts like lions and tigers. But if your things were easy to get, the price would not go up. Since there was no profit, they were smart people and would not do these things. But if the customers wanted them, they could place an order and they would deliver them to their homes. But as the old saying goes, the price would be a little higher. Following the people around, they were already attracted by these animals. Several people also dispersed to watch. Only Huang Duling was still following Zhaojixi, and he looked at other things in a daze. It would be better to follow Zhaojixi to watch these guys. Anyway, it was the same for him. At this time, Zhaojixi saw what he was interested in, a few big turtles, and they were not ordinary turtles. They were placed in several cages, and outside the cages were many leaves, fruits and other things. Zhaojixi took a closer look, and found that each turtle was bigger than the other. Wow, the glands of this turtle is unusually big. Huang Duling also saw this thing, and sighed at the right time, but Zhaojixi felt a little awkward when he heard it. Why do I feel that what you said is a bit obscene? Zhaojixi looked at the turtles, and said to Huang Duling. Actually, you think too much. That's what I said. He made a hand gesture of masturbating, and said to Zhaojixi, look at these guys, do you feel a sense of power? That's why you think so. If you think your thing can be as flexible as this, and have eyes and nose, then you can continue to compare with them. I can only say something about your behavior. Zhaojixi really looked a little bit amused. Chapter 241, The Turtle. After making a few jokes with Huang Duling, Zhaojixi started looking at tortoises again. Oh, no, it should be tortoises, which give people a huge feeling like elephants. That is, the species of tortoises whose scientific name is the elephant tortoise. Zhaojixi looked at the labels outside, the Aldabra tortoise, the Gallipotortoise subspecies, the Angora tortoise, and the introduction of these subspecies of tortoises. Zhaojixi looked carefully at the several big tortoises inside, which was indeed very shocking. The largest subspecies of the Gallipotortoise alone, in terms of height, has grown to Zhaojixi's thigh. The length is more than 1 meter. When Zhaojixi stared at it, this giant tortoise was also looking at Zhaojixi. When its black eyes looked at Zhaojixi, Zhaojixi felt that its eyes seemed to light up, and it gave him the feeling that Wang Ke at home saw a bone, and ran towards him with a wagtail, and begging for mercy. The same is true for this tortoise, but it walks slower. Zhaojixi waited there for a while before it slowly came to him. It stuck its head out through the iron railings. Zhaojixi reached out and secretly put a little water of vitality in the palm of his hand. The tortoise rolled its eyes, sucked a few times with its nose, and began to lick Zhaojixi's palm impatiently. After licking for a while, it found that there was no water coming out of it. It began to nudge Zhaojixi's hand with its head like a spoiled child, and looked at Zhaojixi pitifully. Zhaojixi felt a little soft-hearted when he saw it, so he secretly put water in his palm for it to drink. After drinking a lot, this thing felt full, or it could be said that the place where it stored water was full. So even if it wanted to drink more, it couldn't drink it. According to Zhaojixi's idea, this tortoise must have drunk a lot of water before, otherwise this big tortoise could only drink so little. That's really a bit too sorry for its size. Then the giant tortoise took 2 steps back, stretched its head back, and called a few times in the direction behind it. I wanted to call out to my companions, who were still lazily lying on the ground and dozing off. But unfortunately, after calling for a long time, a big guy crawled up. It began to slowly crawl towards Zhao Jixi's position, but Zhao Jixi couldn't praise the speed. It was really pitifully slow. Oh, you still find friends to share, but looking at your cunning look, this may be your wife or lover. Of course, Zioc is also possible, but I don't know if this species is the kind of love type animal. Zhao Jixi looked at the behavior of the giant tortoise and began to spoof the elephant tortoise. And the elephant tortoise seemed to have heard Zhao Jixi's words and called Zhao Jixi a few times with a hoarse voice of woo woo. As for what it meant, Zhao Jixi could only say that he didn't know. This little thing. Oh, shouldn't it be this old thing? Zhao Jixi muttered with a smile and then looked at one of the white coats. The man also saw Zhao Jixi looking at him, so he immediately walked over. Do you know how old this thing, this giant tortoise is? I know, sir. This is a Galapagos tortoise, which is a subspecies of the Galapagos tortoise. According to our calculations, this tortoise is probably over 70 years old now. Compared with us humans, it is probably an adult, that is, 26 or 27 years old. The white coat said politely to Zhao Jixi. Oh, it's only over 70 years old. I thought that, if it wanted to grow this big, it would have to be at least hundreds or thousands of years old. Sir, how is that possible? Scientists estimate that the lifespan of the Galapagos tortoise is only over 200 years old. The oldest tortoise known is held in an Australian zoo, and she only lived to be over 170 years old. As for the tortoises that you mentioned that are hundreds or thousands of years old, I have never seen one. Except for myths, I have never seen a tortoise that old. Well, it seems that the reality is not that exaggerated. But I don't know if there are tortoises in China that are hundreds of years old. Zhao Jixi thought about it and didn't bother about this issue. He planned to buy these tortoises. Okay, thank you for your introduction. I think these are good. Do I have to wait until the auction to buy them? Zhao Jixi said to the man in the white coat. The man looked back and saw a person who seemed to be the person in charge and nodded. He said to Zhao Jixi with a smile, we still have a few of these tortoises. If you want them, some of them can be kept off the auction table. Zhao Jixi understood as soon as he heard it. As long as you can afford the price, you don't have to go to the auction. Haha. Very humane service. Okay, you name a price. If I think it's appropriate, I'll write you a check. Zhao Jixi said, but frowned again. But how do I get this thing back? Please rest assured, we can escort it to your home. You don't need to worry about this. The man thought something was wrong, but it turned out to be this kind of small matter, which scared him for nothing. That's the best. Tell me how much it costs in US dollars. Okay, sir, there are several prices for all tortoises. Most of them are based on age. The price of sexually mature tortoises will be higher, and this kind of tortoise is probably over 20 years old. The price difference between a teenage tortoise and a few-year-old tortoise is quite large. The man in the white coat said slowly to Zhao Jixi. Zhao Jixi looked at this man and found that he was not a professional salesperson. He kept talking for a long time without telling the exact price. Zhao Jixi was not very interested in this and said to him, stop, just tell me how much it costs and stop talking nonsense. Although the man in the white coat was not professional, his spirit was quite professional. He was not angry at all for Zhao Jixi interrupting him. Instead, he smiled more brightly and said to Zhao Jixi, okay, sir, as you wish. This 70-year-old tortoise will cost about $40,000, but with the other expenses, the final price we give you is $70,000. $70,000 for one. This money is really easy to earn. It's almost equal to the annual income of a middle-class family. These people still have to pay taxes, but these people may not even have to pay taxes under a different name. Zhao Jixi heard the offer and started to complain in his heart. Chapter 242. Although it is troublesome, it has been changed. PS. Sorry everyone, I made a mistake when cutting, and now I have to fix it. Although Zhao Jixi was not very satisfied with the price, he did not care about it because he thought it was also a disaster for the United States. But he couldn't help sighing in his heart. This man is really in the United States, but his heart is in China. Of course, with Zhao Jix's current acting skills, this person couldn't tell that Zhao Jixi was entangled in this money for a while. If you know, he will definitely have a different view of the so-called rich kids. Although the price he gave was a bit high, it was also considered that he didn't even go to the auction house after giving it to him. After all, if it really goes to auction, there are all kinds of situations. Although there is also the risk of genre, this is obviously not within their consideration. According to their thinking, there may be a few idiots who spend a lot of money to buy it, so they added a loss fee to Zhao Jixi's purchase price. But Zhao Jixi also liked this thing very much, so he didn't care about them. Then Zhao Jixi readily agreed to this matter, saying that he could buy a few tortoises at the price he asked. The white coat suddenly showed a happy face and said to Zhao Jixi, "Sir, do you want to pay by credit card or check?" "Write a check," Zhao Jixi said lightly, and then took out a checkbook from his clothes. Just as he was about to write on it, he suddenly stopped. He looked back at the white coat and said to him, "How many tortoises do you have here now?" "Ah." The white coat was surprised by Zhao Jixi's action just now and thought he didn't want to buy it again. Who knew that he suddenly asked about this matter, but the white coat looked at Zhao Jixi's expression. He immediately knew that it should be a good thing. There are a total of 5 adult tortoises here, and some are not yet adults. Zhao Jixi said "oh" to indicate that he knew, and then looked at the several big tortoises in the cage. At this moment, except for the tortoise that had just drunk water, the others were still eating heartlessly. The tortoise that had just interacted with Zhao Jixi seemed to know something. It suddenly barked a few times in Zhao Jixi's direction, and its eyes seemed to be looking at Zhao Jixi. "This thing looks like it has become a spirit," Zhao Jixi muttered, and then he decided to buy all the adults. Anyway, turtles are also mascots in Chinese culture, so there is no harm in keeping them. Besides, Zhao Jixi also likes this thing very much. After deciding, Zhao Jixi wrote a check and asked them to arrange the delivery service. Otherwise, Zhao Jixi really didn't know how to get these big guys back in reality. Of course, if you use the space, it will be different. You can just put them in there and go home peacefully. Not only does it save trouble, but it can also save money. Zhao Jixi still has some resentment for these guys who earned him $360,000 in a short time. After buying things, the shipping fee has to be paid by himself. Just for this, Zhao Jixi spent another $10,000 to let them help deliver the goods to his home. With a little bit of dissatisfaction, Zhao Jixi thought of what he often did when he was on Tao Bao in his previous life. That is to ask him for gifts. After buying so many things, he should give him something anyway. So when handing him the check, Zhao Jixi specifically asked, "I bought so much, do you want to give me something?" The white coat grabbed the check, but because Zhao Jixi didn't mean to let go, he didn't dare to use too much force, for fear of tearing the check. After hearing Zhao Jixi's words, the white coat thought for a while. "Okay, sir, we will have a small gift for you." "Well, that's good." Zhao Jixi nodded to show satisfaction, but he still didn't let go of his hand. Then he looked at the white coat with a smile and said to him, "But don't just give me things to perfunctory me. I'm a person who likes surprises." "Of course, sir." After the white coat finished speaking, he took Zhao Jixi's check as he wished. After taking a look, he put it away with a smile on his face. "Do you need anything else?" "Yes," Zhao Jixi nodded and said, and then as if he was afraid of someone next to him, he moved closer to the white coat and said to him mysteriously, "Get me 2 of the Komodo dragon outside, that is, the big lizard, and also the platypus I just saw, that's all. Get me 2 too." After saying that, Zhao Jixi paused and then said to him, "Don't tell the woman outside about my buying that big lizard." Zhao Jixi said this and then felt that it seemed a bit bad, so he said again, "Well, you guys better not tell anyone. Secretly help me get these things back." The white coat listened to Zhao Jixi's words, and his face was happy. The price he sold to Zhao Jixi was the average price of the auction. In other words, it would be a little higher than the general price. So the more people like Zhao Jixi buy, the more profit they make. After all, there are still more smart people in this world, and it is not easy to meet a brainless person. "Okay, Mr. Zhao, we can meet all your requirements." "Oh, haha. That's fine. calculate how much money it is, and I'll write you a check. After Zhao Jixi finished his work here, he began to accompany Huang Duling to go shopping. He has now bought several new species, and he has no plans to buy other things for the time being. However, after Zhao Jixi walked around, he had to sigh that this place is really good. He saw many animals that he didn't know before, and most of them are protected animals in various countries, and some are special products of a certain country, which cannot be seen in other countries. Although some things are not as comprehensive as those in the zoo, they are much more fun than those in the zoo. Zhao Jixi regretted not bringing Zhou Xianshan here at the end. If she saw so many strange species, she would definitely sigh non-stop. Then she would keep saying wow, wow, and her little face was definitely red with excitement. Then she looked at him excitedly. When Zhao Jixi thought of this, he missed her a little. He was such a bad uncle. He brought her out to play, and even left her to the nannies, although these nannies were pretty good looking. Chapter 243, Small Gift. Everything is back to normal. PS. The previous 242 chapters are good. They are the original 243 chapters. In the evening, Zhao Jixi, Huang Duling and Nikki all left this place with satisfaction. Several people also bought things that they felt good. Huang Duling also bought one, which was a Malayan bear that looked a bit strange in Zhao Jixi's opinion. And Nikki just bought a bird at random, which looked very fancy. Of course, this is not the reason why she is happy. The reason why Nikki is happy is that she has found a way to a circle. That is, the circle where Zhao Jixi and Huang Duling are flying. In this circle composed of mostly second generation rich people and Chinese rich people. For her, breaking into a new upper class circle is definitely a thing to celebrate. Especially these rich Chinese rich circles who are relatively wealthy but usually low-key. It is not so easy for outsiders to melt into it. Chinese Americans seem to be easy to talk to and have contacts with people in any circle, but their own internal circle is very exclusive. And Nikki is in this small circle here, and everyone's hobbies are also obvious. So we just need to talk about this topic. Besides, Huang Duling brought the girl here, and her boyfriend Zhao Jixi also knows about it. So Nikki can chat with them, and she also received party invitations from several women there. Although Zhao Jixi knows this, he is not very interested in interfering in other people's private lives. Although Nikki slept with him, Zhao Jixi has a little affection for her, but it is obvious that Nikki is not yet what Zhao Jixi thinks of as his own person, and the relationship has not reached that stage. So he did not explain much. Everyone has their own life. Obviously, no one belongs to anyone. Zhao Jixi does not want to live and care about this and that. Living like that is really too tiring. Huang Duling is even more speechless. He actually bought a Malayan bear. Zhao Jixi has seen what this thing looks like. It looks like that, with wrinkled skin on the face, and a face full of idiots. Zhao Jixi thinks that this guy is a miserable guy, just like a walking bear. It makes people want to laugh. Zhao Jixi really doesn't understand why Huang Duling bought this stuff. Huang Duling nodded to Zhao Jixi's words, indicating that he understood them. However, Huang Duling smiled and said to him, "Jess, what you said is what they look like when they grow up. The one I bought is a cub, which still looks very cute. Since you know that it will grow ugly in the future, why do you still buy it?" "Well, I like it." Huang Duling obviously won't say it. Whether this thing will still be cute after it grows up is a problem. Maybe it won't be cute after it is beaten. At that time, there will be guests at home, or if you want to, you can kill this guy and eat bear paws. At this moment, Zhao Jixi was obviously a little confused about what Huang Duling said. He didn't know what he was thinking. Why did his taste become so strong all of a sudden? Don't you want to eat bear paws in the future? Zhao Jixi obviously didn't know that he had guessed the truth. But thinking that he also got to Komodo dragons, they didn't look very good. However, Zhao Jixi thought that they looked quite majestic, so some appearance issues were not so important. The white coat came out to send them off, and waved at Zhao Jixi and his friends from behind. Zhao Jixi couldn't help but sigh that this old beauty had a really good sense of service. After they walked outside, Zhao Jixi touched his pocket on purpose, and there were a few little things in it. It was almost as big as a goblin, and it had hands and feet, which made Zhao Jixi very happy. This was a gift from the white coat to Zhao. Originally, the white coat took a small marmoset, which is a very small monkey. Zhao liked this little thing at first sight. After reaching out to take the monkey, he expressed his satisfaction with the white coat's gratitude. Seeing that Zhao liked it, the white coat was also very happy that his gift could make people happy. Then, seeing that Zhao was interested in understanding, he began to explain to Zhao again. This thing is called a marmoset, or marmoset, also known as a thumb monkey. It is the smallest monkey in the world that lives in the forests of the Amazon River basin in South America. When this monkey grows up, it is only 10 to 12 centimeters tall and weighs 80 to 100 grams. When Zhao saw this strange little monkey and thought about Sia at home, he suddenly felt a little like a small country and a big country. The white coat also said that the newborn monkey of this monkey is only the size of a broad bean and weighs only 13 grams. Hearing this, Zhao had a feeling of smecta. The white coat said that this monkey likes to catch lice to eat. However, it is an omnivorous species that mainly eats fruits, insects and tree sap. It also eats bad eggs and small vertebrates. So after hearing this, Zhao also felt that this thing is easy to raise, at least it eats everything. The marmoset family has 3 genera and 35 species. It is a small and low-level ape native to Central and South America. It is characterized by a small body and a long tail, a coiled tail, a round head, cheek pouches, and lateral nostrils. All kinds of marmosets are lively, cute, docile, fragile, and easy to tame. Marmosets are also known as sack monkeys and thumb monkeys because they can be placed in pockets or hand cages. After hearing this, Zhao felt that it was obviously not enough to raise one. This little thing looks very cute. Go back and eat some long-haired grass to make the hair brighter and thicker. The furry look will be more lovable than it is now. Zhao asked the white coat for a few more, but the latter ones cost money. Fortunately, these little things are not expensive, so Zhao didn't care about the money. And this little thing is very cute. It would be nice to keep it as a gift when there are more in the future. Several people left here in the evening, and it seemed that no one wanted to rest. They decided to go to a nightclub together, since they had something to talk about when they were free. Nikki and Huang Duling's female companion didn't object, so they set out to a nightclub together. However, after arriving at the door, the little thing in Zhao pocket started to get a little restless after hearing the loud music. Zhao was also afraid of any accidents, so he threw them directly into the space and asked the little goblins to help train them. Nikki walked in front holding Zhao hand. Suddenly, Zhao seemed to feel something and turned his face sideways. Then he saw a camera in the distance from the corner of his eye. A white man with a hat on his head was pointing the camera here, but obviously he hadn't taken a picture yet. The lens was just wiped clean and was discovered by Zhao. Chapter 244. Let's drink. The bet is biting. Zhao felt something was wrong at first, and he didn't expect it was a candid photo. This was the second time he had encountered this. Although it was a bit refreshing to take a photo of this thing and put it on the front page, but if they were asked to write about it, based on the photos, they would definitely be the kind of people who would write casually. Believe me, it would definitely not be a good thing at that time. So Zhao quickly moved his face so that the camera couldn't take a picture of his face. That is, the back half of his face was taken. Nikki also felt that Zhao was abnormal at this time and said to him with a strange look, "What's wrong, baby?" He wanted to touch Zhao face with concern. But there were reporters at this time, so he quickly said to Nikki, "I think I saw a reporter. Don't turn your head now, let's go in first." Zhao took Nikki's hand and quickly quickened his pace, and then called Huang Duling, who was leading the way in front, to speed up. Seeing that Huang Duling wanted to ask what was the matter, he just said, "Let's talk about it after we go in." After entering, several people asked for a VIP booth. This time, Zhao had time to explain to everyone what was going on. But before he started to speak, Huang Duling started to ask anxiously. He wanted to ask along the way, but Zhao just followed him, which made him curious to death. He felt like he was scratched by a cat. "Jess, tell me what happened just now." Zhao Jixi smiled bitterly at Nikki next to him and then said to Huang Duling, "Can't you not be so anxious?" "No." Huang Duling answered quickly, and it seems that he is still the kind of person who speaks without thinking. Well, Zhao Jixi was silent for a while, and then he said to him easily, "Nothing happened, but just now I found a reporter taking pictures of us." "Reporter?" Huang Duling muttered, and then looked at Nikki. Among the few people here, the most attractive to those reporters is Nikki sitting next to Zhao Jixi. "Sorry friends, and dear Jess, I think it might be because of me." Nikki knew without thinking that it was her fault. Among the people here, she was the only public figure. So she was embarrassed and apologized to them first. "It's okay. Besides, he can't take pictures of us from that angle." Jay Chou had turned his head when he found out just now, so his face should not have been photographed. "That's good. Let's not talk about this now." Huang Duling nodded and said, then picked up the wine brought by the waiter and poured it for several people. "Now it's time to drink. How about we drink 3 rounds first?" "Okay, I have no problem." Nikki agreed readily. Then the female companion brought by Huang Duling had no objection, nodded to indicate that it was okay, and then picked up the wine glass. Jay Chou saw that the women were so straightforward, how could he not drink? So he shrugged his shoulders, picked up the wine glass and said, "Of course there is no problem, but darling, I want to compete with you. Whoever is slower will pay the bill and give the tip today." "Oh, of course there is no problem. But what if the ladies win? Then you not only have to pay the bill today, but also have to bite her," Zhao Jixi said to him teasingly, and his eyes deliberately looked at the 2 women. "What do you think of this idea?" "I agree. This is a really good idea." Zhao Ji wanted to use this to play tricks on Huang Duling, but he didn't expect that Nikki, who was quite confident in his drinking speed, would speak first. And he said this sentence in a very confident manner, which made Zhao Jixi a little stunned. After Nikki finished speaking, he licked his lips with his tongue and looked at Zhao Jixi with seductive eyes again. The other hand moved to the hidden place at an angle that Zhao Jixi could see. The fingers opened and closed with the legs a few times and looked at Zhao Jixi with a seductive look. She was like this now, and she almost said to Jay Chou, "Baby, I want you to lick me." What does she mean by this? Is she confident in herself? Or does she want me to bite her? Although I'm not very interested in this, I'm not very opposed to it. But why does it feel a little weird? Jay Chou's inner feelings were quite strange at this moment, and he seemed a little entangled. Okay. Then Huang Duling's couple also agreed to the bet, but the look in their eyes when they looked at Jay Chou and Nikki was a little strange. I didn't expect them to like the 69 try. I was wondering how they got the hang of it so quickly. Is it possible that having a good tongue is also a skill now? Huang Duling looked at the 2 of them and couldn't help but guess secretly. Then several people held the cups, but everyone had their own thoughts in their hearts, and each was thinking about the gossip and scandals of the other party. Then Jay Chou decided to use the cup throwing as a signal to make a drink when the cup fell to the ground. Although this signal is not as high profile and handsome as an arrow piercing the clouds and thousands of troops rushing to meet, it is not as cool as that. But it is not bad. There is a saying that no matter whether the cat is black or white, a cat that can catch mice is a good cat. Look, as soon as the cup was thrown, several people began to drink quickly. Nikki's speed was really fierce. Huang Duling and her female companion were not bad either. But compared with Nikki, the gap was obvious. After Zhao Jixi took a glance, he immediately decided to cheat with space. So obviously, Zhao Jixi finished the wine before the others. After drinking, he burped in a formal manner. After drinking, Zhao Jixi even said yeah in a fake excitement. He looked at the few people with a provocative look, and then burped in a formal manner. "Yes, buddy, get ready to pay the bill later," Zhao Jixi said, clenching his fist and waving it. "Oh my god, Jess, you drink too fast." Huang Duling looked at himself, who still had half a cup left to drink, and then looked at Zhao Jixi and Nikki who had finished all the drinks behind him, and said to them a little depressed. Zhao Jixi couldn't win, and he couldn't even win against a woman. Oh my god, what kind of thing is this? As expected, they are the 2 daughters of the Hilton family. This woman is not simple. Dude, try harder next time. Go back and practice your biting skills. Maybe you will have a chance to use them next time. Zhao Jixi couldn't help but joked with Huan Duling after winning. That expression was really a bit mean, and even the two girls couldn't help but laugh so hard that they held their stomachs. Chapter 245. Get moving. Then Huan Duling was depressed and kept firing at Zhao Jixi. Although there is no custom of urging people to drink in the United States, Huan Duling is of Chinese descent, and his father and he often deal with Chinese people. The art of urging people to drink and drinking is also very deep, so he can talk about all kinds of reasons with Zhao Jixi. Obviously, Zhao Jixi has space and he doesn't. After he went to the toilet twice, he almost felt a little desperate when he saw Zhao Jixi was still fine. Zhao Jixi also felt that things were a bit strange. After drinking for so long, he should go to the toilet. This would seem a bit normal, so he used the excuse of going to the toilet at this time. Walking to the toilet, Zhao Jixi saw many drunk boys and girls along the way. They were just sitting there to rest, but they had friends watching them. It was obviously not that easy to resist corpses here. When Zhao Jixi saw these women, he found that there were also a few who looked pretty good, but most of them had bad skin on their faces, and they would have some freckles. Compared with Asian women, this is a big difference. Of course, there are also breasts. Indeed, there are quite a few breasts that have been rubbed all the way. At this time, Zhao Jixi's mind was thinking bowl-shaped, pear-shaped, peach-shaped big papaya. It really made him a little distracted. He wished that there would be a woman to have sex with him when he entered the bathroom. Zhao Jixi, who was thinking about whether he would have a romantic encounter, walked into the bathroom. Although this is a relatively good bar, it is obviously not very clean at this time in the early morning. Zhao Jixi looked at a few seats and felt a little disgusted, so he went straight to open the door and go into the private room to have sex. But he didn't expect that he actually met a woman. After that, Zhao Jixi returned to the few people with a refreshed spirit, as if nothing had really happened. After drinking until more than 3 in the morning, they felt that they had drunk enough. Then they left the bar. Because of drinking, and because Nikki is a public figure, the few people did not drive themselves. I paid the bar staff to find 2 designated drivers, and then I returned to the hotel safely. In the evening, Zhao Jixi was in the hotel, and then he fought with Nikki for several rounds, and he didn't want to stop. Nikki always used her little tongue to arouse Zhao Jixi's desire, especially Nikki quickly mastered Zhao Jixi's sensitive points. Either with her hands or her mouth, she licked Zhao Jixi from time to time. Zhao Jixi almost felt that he was squeezed dry all night. In the morning, he took the opportunity to go to the bathroom and took a bath in the name of taking a good rest in the space. Only then did he recover. In the morning, under Nikki's surprised eyes, he stood up and saluted and then pulled Nikki up for a big fight. In the bathtub, Nikki looked at Zhao Jixi with all her strength, with a charming face, and her bright red lips kept sucking on Zhao Jixi's small nipples. Seeing her like this, Zhao Jixi put down his right hand that was still kneading her buttocks and gently stroked it twice and then slapped it. A palm print suddenly appeared on Nikki's wheat-colored buttocks. "You little wildcat, you haven't been taught a lesson yet, and you're teasing me again." Zhao Jixi pretended to be angry and said to Nikki. Northern Zhao Jixi slapped Nikki's buttocks, and she said HMM softly, and then tried to retaliate by sucking Zhao Jixi's little red bean vigorously. It seemed as if she wanted to suck milk out of it, but this was destined to be impossible. Nikki just wanted Zhao Jixi to taste the discomfort. Seeing this, Zhao Jixi slapped her again. "Okay baby, I surrender. You win, so don't tease me now." The little guy has almost overexerted himself, and now it hurts. OMG, it's really uncomfortable. My king, your maid follows your opinion, but don't you think that putting him in my little cave can relieve his discomfort more? Nikki said, and used her right hand in the water to stroke Zhao Jixi's little brother, trying to relieve his discomfort. After hearing this, Zhao Jixi thought about it for a while, and then said with a happy face, "Yes, this is a really good idea, but..." At this point, Zhao Jixi paused for a while, and then said to Nikki, "But you have to make sure you can't move up and down at that time." Zhao Jixi is now in a state of fear. Although he has a good body, he has ejaculated too much. After grinding for a long time, iron can be ground fine, let alone his Zhao small penis. Nikki kissed Zhao chest bow and then used her chest to grind Zhao body. Don't worry, baby, I promise. Nikki said to Zhao with a serious face, but what she did in her hands was a very improper thing compared to this matter. Nikki lay on Zhao body, slightly raised her fat buttocks, grabbed little Jixi in her hands, exerted force on her waist, pointed her hands at her entrance, and inserted them all at once. Both of them couldn't help but a sound. Nikki just wanted to move. Zhao slapped her again. Didn't we agree not to move? Do you still want to regret it? Nikki kissed Zhao and said in a sweet voice, your baby is so touching. Okay baby, I promise. Are you better now? Do you want to be tighter? Is it enough like this? Nikki said, although she was no longer moving, but she controlled the muscles in her body to shrink in the hole. Zhao also put it in for a while and felt that the little brother was much more comfortable. In addition to Nikki's internal movement, the little guy also felt pleasure. Well, Nikki, wow, you are really great. Well, yes, just like that. Well, Zhao happily directed her in the bathtub. It was another ridiculous morning. Zhao had breakfast with Nikki, which made Nikki feel much better. At least Zhao is not the kind of person who pats his butt and leaves after going to bed. And women also like to have breakfast with the man they have a slight crush on after a night of passion. Moreover, in the American breakfast culture, there is an important connection between the two and the sexual culture of young boyfriends and girlfriends. Of course, Zhou obviously didn't know this. He just consumed too much last night and this morning's excessive exercise, so he couldn't help but want to stay and eat something together. After eating, Zhou sent away Nikki, who was a little stunned. She had things to do in the afternoon, so she left first. When she left, she was shocked by Zhou's appetite. While Zhou was eating, she reminded him from time to time not to eat too much, but Zhou still stuffed it into his mouth one bite at a time. By the time Zhou finished eating, it was already 5 servings, and it was the kind of high-intensity 5 servings. Nikki was so stunned that she even ate the food into her nostrils, which made Zhou laugh. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.